Good evening and welcome to the Norwood School Committee meeting. It is Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023. I officially call the meeting to order at 7:06. All those in attendance, if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, welcome. Moving right into our business. Our first thing is the approval of minutes. We have sets of minutes from the April 12th business meeting, the April 25th subcommittee meeting of the whole, as well as the April 12th executive session.
Motion to approve?
Second.
So moved. So, motioned by Teresa, seconded by Kate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that, all three sets of those, I assume, passed 3-0, because that was the motion. Great, all three. And then just to update, I'm sorry, I forgot this as I fill in as chair. Anne Marie will not be joining us tonight. She is away, and Dr. Giblin should be here. She was running a little bit late, so may jump in as we're into the meeting. Second, correspondence. Do we have any, Dr. Thompson?
We do not, Mr. Chair.
Okay, lovely. Third was going to be warrants, but I do not have those in my possession, so I will not be reading those, and we will be moving into public comment. Again, public comment is an opportunity for members of the general public to come and comment. Us, as the school committee, do not respond, we just listen. So any of you here presently, in person, here for public comment? No? Okay. Dr. Thompson, do we have any sign-ups for public comment from you?
We do not this week.
Okay. So I will officially declare public comment closed at 7:08 p.m. And again, just a reminder, if you would like to comment at one of our meetings, if you are in person, you sign up in advance through the superintendent's office by noon the day of the meeting to pre-register, or you may sign in at the meeting, or you can call the superintendent's office at 781-762-6804 by noon on the day of the meeting to register and receive a meeting link that will be accessible for public comment only. Next, on the agenda, we are moving into the school choice hearing. So I officially declare at 7:08 the school choice hearing open. Dr. Thompson, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a little background. And
Yes, thank you. As you know, Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 76, Section 12B requires the Norwood School Department to enroll non-resident students unless the school committee votes by June 1st, 2023 to participate in the school choice program. Based on the following reasons, I am recommending that the Norwood Public Schools and the Norwood School Committee vote not to participate in the school choice program for the 23-24 school year. Enrollments in Norwood continue to rise, as do our number of high-need students. This has been highly volatile in certain grades and within particular schools. Shortly, we'll be reaching capacity for enrollments in some existing school sites. Choice students, once enrolled, are the system's responsibility until graduation or age 22 if they have significant special education needs. And this may pose overcrowding in certain schools or courses. The income stream for school choice students is on the declining scale with less income per pupil this year than the previous year. Norwood would be subsidizing the cost of educating each choice student in that our per pupil expenditures is above the maximum allowable reimbursement. Students may enroll in a student may enroll as a regular education student with $5,000, $6,000 as a reimbursement, and then apply for a team evaluation and qualify for special education services, and that $5,000, $6,000 would not cover that entire cost. So with those three reasons, I am recommending the school committee not vote to participate in school choice.
thank you, Dr. Thompson, is there any questions and or comments from the members of the committee?
Did we receive any community feedback when this was posted?
We did not.
Okay.
So we do need a vote.
So I will make a motion that the Norwood School Department will not participate in the school choice program for the 23-24 school year.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Kate seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that will pass 3-0, so we will not be involved in the school choice program per the recommendation of the superintendent. So at 7:11 p.m., post that vote, I officially declare the school choice hearing closed. Moving right along to appearances. We did add a position for next year, or not add a position, excuse me. Because of a retirement, a position has opened up. That is the position of assistant superintendent, so we had gone through that process in the spring. We wish Dr. Wyeth the best in his retirement, but we did name and choose a
Successor.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dr. Munoz, I would like you, invite you to step up. Welcome.
Are we good with mics over here? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, you're good, right
Flat
there on the
one.
You
table.
got that big flat one there.
I saw him messing with the mics, and so
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure. That he was on. I'm excited to be joining this community. I'm thrilled. The opportunity to work alongside dedicated teachers and staff is just an opportunity I could not pass up. And I just can't wait for my start in July. And as I'm thinking about my start and I'm preparing, I plan on coming into Norwood early and often before my July start to visit, get to know the schools, get to know the community a little bit, and get a real good sense of the school's cultures and the needs of our students. And so alongside of that, I am preparing an entry plan that I will share with the superintendent to hopefully be in collaboration with students, staffs, families, teachers, to really learn about what are the really great things that are happening in Norwood and things that we want to improve upon, and really make sure I'm coming in with a learning lens. And so, I don't have much to say other than I'm just excited to get started. I just finished defending my doctorate, and so now I can focus all of my attention on Norwood. And so
Congratulations.
Dr. Wyatt's already been in communication with me, and him and I are going to meet a ton. And so if you want to be in collaboration, we can do that. But if he's going to retire, I understand that too.
So please feel free to use him as a resource
Oh,
and share
yes.
that he will be more than willing to share with you.
Yes.
Yes.
But thank you. Welcome officially to other members of the committee. Any comments or questions? I'd like to turn it over to you guys.
I'll just say congrats on finishing your defending your dissertation and welcome, and we're excited to have you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here. This community I hear wonderful things about, and it's such a tight-knit, it's like almost like a family type atmosphere, and those are the atmospheres that I love to be a part of.
Yeah, and Teresa and I were on the search committee for you, and it was great to meet you in that process, and I would say that I was really impressed with the energy that you brought and your passion for education and working with families and educators. So I'm glad to see you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, Kate stole what I was gonna say, so no. So I echo everything. JJ, congratulations, welcome, and we look forward to working with you.
Yeah, I'll definitely be down here a couple times this month, and I'm going to see Alec on Friday, and we'll get down to business.
Any other members of the administrative team? Any questions, comments? No?
Ready to hand the baton off.
We're working on that alley when you're
The handoff.
running and putting it right.
Yeah,
He's
trying to get my hand
There we
right
go.
now.
The baton will not be dropped.
Will not be.
I hope not. You guys have done wonderful things here already, and so I hope to enhance and bring a different lens to that, and just uplift it even more, and make Norwood the best it can possibly be.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
JJ was with us not this Tuesday, but last Tuesday for our Savage 7, our executive team meeting, and he still wanted to come back, so this is a good sign. But he
I
brings,
thought about it for a minute.
he brings a lot of expertise. He was an exemplary elementary principal, has worked a lot on student engagement, and I think he's going to continue the fine work that Dr. Wyatt has done here for a long time. So we're looking
Thank you. Congratulations. Yes. Moving right along to our next appearance, Mr. Blood and Ms. Begg from Impact Nord and the Youth Ambassadors update. So please step on up.
Hi, so I had a few words just to tell you guys about myself. My name is Bob Blood. I've been a resident of Norwood for 35 years. I was not born in Norwood Hospital. I've been a town meeting member for the past 6 years. I'm retired from the Massachusetts Department of Corrections. One of my positions I held in my career was the Director of Security at the Mass Alcohol and Substance Abuse Center. At the time it was at Bridgewater, it's now down in Plymouth, where I witnessed firsthand the struggles of alcohol and drug addiction on a daily basis. Personally, my younger brother struggled with alcohol addiction. I observed the pain and the turmoil that caused my parents and my entire family. Sadly, my brother Michael passed away 5.5 years ago at the age of 54. I've been involved in Impact Node for approximately, since 2016. I am presently the chair of the steering committee. I am thrilled to have been given the opportunity to work with Stacy, the Board of Health, with Heather, our youth leader, and Connor, our director of Impact Node, as well as all the youth ambassadors that we have at the high school, and we're trying to recruit at the junior high, which I have some news on that. So you're going to see me around town a lot. I'm going to be going to the PTO meetings. I've already been at the junior high. I spent all 3 lunch periods there passing out stuff. I got 18 emails for kids that are interested, hopefully in participating as youth ambassadors at the junior high, and then hopefully they'll go to the high school as well. Norwood Day, football games, the farmers market, collaborating with the library and the rec department are all the things that I want to do. We do have some slides that Heather might want to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm Heather. I'm a junior at Norwood High School, and I've worked as the youth leader for Impact Norwood for over a year. So I facilitate all of the youth ambassador meetings. We meet once a week on Zoom. Currently we have a very small group of students, but a very dedicated group of students. So over the past year, we've been especially focusing on a mental health awareness campaign, where we created a series of graphics talking about mental health and addressing the fact that mental health is health, and it's okay to talk about it. It is okay to have mental health issues the same way that it is okay to have physical health issues. So as May is Mental Health Awareness Month, we put together some posters, which we've shared with the school committee and are on screen. But we put together, there are 19 of these posters. We printed off the first 3 of these posters and hung them up at the high school and the middle school. And the rest of the posters we are posting on our social media throughout the month to help bring awareness to the fact that mental health is health for everyone, regardless of any background that they come from. So that is one of the parts of our mental health campaign. Another part of our campaign is we put together a PSA, a video PSA addressing the fact that mental health is health. And so this campaign, it was a video where we showed a reaction to a physical health situation and then a reaction to a mental health situation, and showed that the 2 are similar. So these are just some of the things that we are working on as a Youth Ambassador Coalition to try to improve mental health within our schools.
Do you want Dr. Thompson to show the PSA?
Yes.
It's like a minute and a half.
Yes.
Not too long. Do you see it in the agenda?
It's done in the studio.
Yes.
It's time to talk.
Might have trouble hearing it. Just what we do.
It is time to talk more openly about mental health. Did you know that there are more than 200 types of mental illness? This includes depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and anxiety disorders. Mental health disorders are more common than you think, and they can look like many things. We can start making a difference normalizing emotions.
Was it okay? It was pretty good. How are you? It's hard. It's like really hard. Oh, it's like coming from my mom. Are you okay? I'm okay. I'm okay. You sure? No, yeah, I'm okay. No, because now this is so bad. Because my back isn't that bad. Oh my gosh, wasn't that dance off Friday so much fun?
Was. Remember when we all got rickrolled?
Oh, that was the worst. Oh my god.
Yeah, you were singing all the words.
Yeah.
Huh? Are you okay?
No, yeah, I was. Yes.
Are you actually okay?
No. I've been thinking about my math test lately, and I need to get my math grade up. But like, right now the topic is so hard, and I don't know what to do.
Is there anything I can do to help you?
Mental health is health. We can respond to physical and mental health issues the same way by asking someone if they're okay. If you would like to talk to someone about your mental health, please reach out to a trustful person in your life.
Heather, you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, they really did. It was a lot of fun to watch. We have posters also at Town Hall, the Senior Center, and the library as well. I've only been in the job like 2 weeks and a day.
You count me down already.
But I just want to say it's a part-time position, but you're getting a full-time commitment from me. We've already met with the school health council. We have some ideas what we want to do to bring information from the Metro West Adolescent Health Survey to people. And then we just met Monday with superintendents and other administrators about the issues going on at the junior high with vaping and edibles. That's it. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
Yeah, I was going to say thank you both for coming. Great work on the posters as well as the video, and then I would throw it to the committee. Any comments or questions?
Would everybody be okay if I moved up the school health council update, which will be about less than 5 minutes, just because Bob and Heather were part of that last meeting as well and some of the initiatives we're planning?
I will allow it.
Thank you, David. So in the packet, you do have our minutes from the meeting that Bob just referenced that we had on Monday with the administrative team under Impact Norwood, and then under the School Health Council, you do have the minutes from the last School Health Council as well as our plan of action. So really three-pronged, trying to get this information to grandparents and trying to work through the senior center. And Haley is helping us make some connections and plans there to do like a coffee with the seniors that Carrie McCarthy runs. Then trying to do more work with the students. You can already see the amazing work that Heather is doing with the high school. But as Bob said, trying to get back into the Coakley and working with the middle school students as well. Heather, do you want to tell them about the like the slides that you're hoping to put together for the teachers?
Yeah, so over the summer before the 2022-2023 school year, we as a group put together a series of slides about what sort of things help us to trust teachers and connect with teachers, because one of the things that we noticed in the Metro West data is that a lot of students don't get a great sense of community from schools or don't necessarily have a teacher that they're willing to talk to. And so one of the ways that we can help increase mental health support within our schools is to increase the connections between students and teachers. So we put together a slideshow with some really simple things that teachers can do that would help us feel more connected with them, so that we have more of a community spirit to our schools and students feel more open to talk about mental health with people who are able to help them out. And so it's simple things like telling us about like what you did on your weekend, being okay straying away from like the planned curriculum a little bit if there are like current events issues that need to be discussed. So simple things like that. We put together a slideshow. It is all ready, and we are hoping to send it out before the beginning of next school year, so that as teachers are coming back into the building, they can keep those things in mind when they are introducing themselves to their students, and then try to keep them in mind throughout the school year to help build those connections.
So Heather, who put the slides together? You
The Impact Norwood Youth Ambassadors.
Okay.
So, we have a small group, and over the summer we have smaller numbers in attendance. We only meet every other week.
Yeah.
So it was only a few students, but at that time, most of the students coming to the meetings were either 7th graders going into 8th grade or 8th graders going into 9th grade. So we do have representatives from both the high school and the middle school in creating the slides.
And I think we talked at the School Health Council, you were going to work with Mr. Quigley, who is the wellness chair, to figure out if there's additional ways to get that into the curriculum as well. That's, yeah. So getting into the community, reaching grandparents, working directly more with our students, and then also trying to do more parent education. Bob just mentioned we're trying to go to like little leagues and soccer games. That's going to be Bob when I say we, not me. But he's already getting into the Coakley. As both the School Health Council and the Impact Norwood Steering Committee, we're trying to get to all the PTO meetings, trying to reach out to the LPAC. And then we want to partner with the library. We're still working on that because they've been doing some parenting education and looking forward to the fall planning some parenting education. But we're also going to the 5th grade open house at the Coakley. So that's when all the 5th graders and their parents go to the Coakley to learn about the middle school experience. And members from Impact Norwood and the School Health Council are going to be there as well. And then just the last thing for the School Health Council, you can see 3 updated graphics. When Ryan Quigley was here in February, he gave us some data, and more data has been pushed out in a user-friendly way from the Metro West survey. So in the packet, there is a graphic on social media use and how that is impacting our kids. As Heather and Bob are talking about the connectedness in the school. And then there's also a 3rd graphic on students reporting if they feel that they have supportive adults in their life. And then we meet again as a School Health Council on June 8th at 3:30 at the high school library. And that invitation is open to any parent, any member of the community, any staff, any student.
So that ends the Health Council update. Any other comments, questions? No?
Heather, I'm Alec Wyeth, hi, the Assistant Superintendent. I'd be glad to look at your slide deck and just give you some feedback. I know, has Mr. Quigley looked at it?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay, so I'd be happy to take a look at that, you know, from sort of a teacher kind of perspective. And I also want to make sure that it kind of ties into the work that we've done with Highlander, because that's connected to this slide deck that you seem to be, that you're going to be presenting. So I want to make sure those connections are clear to staff. That, and I think that'll just help reinforce what you're trying to do, you know, in terms of getting teachers to pay attention to student needs. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks. Be happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
both.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our final appearance of the night, Mr. Riccardi and Ms. O'Brien, please step on up.
Good evening, everybody. We're here to give our quarterly report. What I can tell you is that we've had a very good year. The budget is in good shape. There's a lot of reasons why it's in good shape. No snow, relatively mild winter. But we also have been able to do a lot of plumbing work in-house, where in years past it was an outside vendor. And the same with electrical work and alarm monitoring and access and video cameras. We have a gentleman on our staff that does all of that. That said, it's important to know, and I just want to go over some of Mary will get into the actual numbers with you if you have any questions. But on the school side, we have 29 custodians, 28 custodians and a lunch truck driver. On the town side, there are 9 custodians. So out of the 40, excuse me, the 38 custodians, 29 are on the school side. We are, and then the 7 maintenance craftsmen, which I believe we split 50-50. And then the central office, the 4.5 of us, although we're down a half a person now, it's all split 50-50. So if you look at, in most budgets, personnel is the biggest target. If you look at this budget, a large chunk of the personnel budget is dedicated to the school department. And that's not going to change. And we've looked at our work orders for the last, 3 years that we've been in existence, and they're running at 83-84% of the work orders are with the schools. And again, that will not change. It's the most buildings, it's some of the oldest buildings, and it's got the most people in the buildings. I will say, to the positive, there's been a lot less vandalism this year in our schools compared to the last 2 years. So that's really positive. On some capital projects, we have converted the oil burners at the Balch to dual fuel burners, gas and oil, but there's no natural gas in the Balch or enough to handle it. But the gas company on May 22nd is gonna run a new gas line into the Balch. So next year, next heating season, we will be burning cleaner fuel. So the folks in South Norwood won't see that potentially black soot going up the chimney. So that's really good. I'm happy to report that we have 2 elementary schools that are 99.9% all LED lights, inside, outside, classrooms, corridors. That's the Willett and the Balch. Not this weekend coming, but the weekend after, we're gonna tackle the Oldham. And hopefully, by the end of June, we have all the elementary schools done. And over the summer, hopefully, we get into the high school and start converting all the classroom lights to LEDs, and that will be a major conversion, and again, help to reduce our electric bills. Just so you know, we have the school has 3 totally electric buildings. You know, the Savage, the Willett, and the Coakley. And they're all very old buildings, and inefficient electric. The world wants you to go to electric, but not the way these buildings are set up and built. So I think it's been a really productive and good year. We don't know what the future holds financially, and we don't know what the future holds from a capital outlay point of view financially, because free cash is dwindling. But this summer, we are going to be doing the parking lot at the Oldham and the parking lot at the Willett over. And I hope next year we do 2 other school parking lots. With that, I'll let Mary talk about the actual budget numbers and the form that she worked on with Karen, so.
Yeah, Karen sent me over the form, which I sent over, so you guys hopefully have it all. It's just basically that the schools are 63%, are using right now 63% of the budget, and that we estimated, I still have to go through like the purchase orders and things we have, but for the monies, the encumbered monies is what we put in at the beginning of the year. And I still have to go through it and see if we need it all or not, but for custodial supplies and a lot of equipment repairs and things like that are costing us a lot more this year than previous years and stuff, so it is causing us to have a negative balance in the end, but total budget-wise, we're not in the negative. Because this only includes school side.
So I was going to ask about that. So the report we have shows a deficit of $126,761. So if you're looking at the entire budget for joint facilities, what is your?
But it's not a deficit because you've got a lot of money still encumbered. So the encumbered is treated as an expense,
Right.
but it hasn't happened yet.
That could change too. It could go up or down depending upon the bills that come in or if anything major happens at the schools. Because right now, the leak at the high school that they had isn't in this.
Right.
Yeah, and that was like 20,000 right there.
I think we're gonna be, I think we'll be in really good shape.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our overall budget will be we should come in the black.
So where are we now with the overall joint facilities budget?
As of when the 425, we're at a plus 299,276.
Okay. What was the leak at the high school? What happened?
We had up on the 3rd floor and on the 2nd floor, we had a major chill water leak in 2 locations, worse on the 3rd floor. And so in the chill water system is a substance called glycol that keeps it cool. Glycol is very expensive, so we had to bring in 8 250-gallon tubs basically to drain the glycol out. That alone was $8,500, and then pump it back in the system. That would have cost us around $15,000 if we put in new glycol, never mind the disposal of the old glycol. And then the actual repair which was done over April vacation, was around $15,000. So we're back up and running again for the heating season, cooling season, excuse me.
Okay.
I was gonna say any other questions or comments from
I have a quick question. I just want to make sure I heard correctly. So we're using 63% of the budget. Schools are using 63% of the budget. We account for about 83
To date.
To date, but account for about 83 to 84% of the work orders. So you
Right.
expect that we'll be using approximately that same amount? Like that seems like a.
Yeah, I think.
Or is it just because kids are sticking bubble gum and that's easy and cheap to scrape off?
No, I think you're gonna end up being around 63 to 70% of
Okay.
the total budget.
Okay. My other question was about the vandalism, and you said vandalism has gone down.
Yes.
That was just this year, or does that include the years that with the
Last
pandemic?
year was a tough year.
Okay, yeah.
In bathrooms.
Yeah, yeah.
It was the year of the bathrooms.
Yeah.
But it's gone down this year
Okay.
dramatically. Now, we've had a lot of broken windows at the Oldham.
Okay.
Throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
But nothing like years past.
Okay,
So
great.
I hope we're in a good trend, that keeps going.
We can all cross our fingers that TikTok
Right.
has moved away from
Right.
schools as locations for fun things. Thanks. Those are my only two questions. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Kate, anything?
Nope, thank you.
Teresa?
Are you scheduled to go to the Board of Selectmen to report on the rest of the budget to them?
They haven't asked us to come. Yeah. so-
They happen to ask you, I have nothing to do with it.
You can
Thanks.
thank her for ruining another one of your nights.
Karen?
I just want to say kudos to Mary, because she did a nice job on that, so.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you both of you for your work.
There's nothing else. Thank you guys, and we will see you
Okay.
next in June.
No, I don't think
No.
they're back until,
School starts
September.
sometime, yeah, well,
Let's just say the fall.
yeah, in the fall,
So,
in the fall.
unless you were to
I'm-
find yourself in a
I'm
real
gonna, I'm gonna
deficit.
put in my pitch again, because I've said it to all the boards that we went in front. I believe it's really time to look at the facilities department as a vendor. We're providing a service to the schools and to the town. And the money, or the breakdown of how the money is spent, is kind of immaterial, because it's gonna be what happens in any building, which is gonna drive the cost one way or the other. So I really believe we're in a point where it's about the service. And either we're providing the service or we're not providing the service. And if we're not providing the service that's adequate to the principals, complain to the superintendent, because he's one of my bosses, and complain to Tony Mizuko, because he's my other boss. So I would like to see this morph into a vendor relationship. We're providing a service, and the money is the money. It's always gonna be heavily on the school side, just because of the sheer numbers. And when you think about the Coakley Middle School coming online, we're gonna have to add custodians in that building, because it's a much bigger building. We've got 2 cafeterias we're gonna have to staff for the lunch hours, so the money is always gonna be greater on the school side than it is on the town side.
If I could just respond, because Paul, thank you, both of you, for everything you do, and I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that perspective, and I don't think any of our questions about the money is doubting the amazing service. It's
I'm not
just,
suggesting that.
yeah, I know, I just want to state it, but unfortunately, we do have the requirements of the state and DESI on how we have to report the money, so I think we just have to figure out going forward, if you are evolving the delivery model, just
And-
protecting the accounting model.
And all three, I'm not suggesting that we don't give Karen what she needs.
Yeah.
I think that's the form that Karen and Mary worked out to do.
Mhm.
I'm just suggesting in general.
So what's different?
That's my question.
Yeah, from how it is now in your vision of a vendor model, like,
Well,
I guess I'm unclear.
To be blunt, I'm not sure, from my perspective
Uh-huh.
only, and I shouldn't open my big mouth here, but
Be blunt.
I'm not sure that coming and reporting on the money really means anything anymore, because it's about service. And it's about, the majority of the staff are dedicated to the school department, and that's not gonna change. And the age of our elementary school buildings aren't gonna change. And the need for work in those buildings aren't gonna change. So to me, to come and talk about what we're doing and how we're doing it and what we have planned is great. The money end of it, I'm not sure.
I think
It
I can
means
see
anything,
how,
yeah.
from a community perspective, like if we're, for instance, David and I are working on the elementary study committee, and your feedback just in this time and the time you were here before, and then you made a comment on the age of the buildings. So, for instance, it's good for the community to hear, not just from us, and but from your department, some of the projects and issues that the town is faced with, just within the school department. So I think that has value in that sense. But I mean, I'm also open to.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with you.
We appreciate the feedback.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we are through with appearances, and then you can see Dr. Thompson has his superintendent's report up. So I will turn it over to you, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Hills. All right, so superintendent update, May 3rd, 2023. So just a shout out to our school nurses. National School Nurses Day is next Wednesday, the 10th of May. So I'm kind of getting the word out a day early. We do have a staffing request for a 1-to-1 para for the Little Mustang Preschool Academy. This is for a student who has aged in or moved in and has come with an IEP that requires this amount of service. So we need to post for that and try to fill it. I believe that student will be with us next year as well. Yes. So, at the LMPA.
So would you like us to do that now, or do you want us to wait until, let's wait till the end of the report. I'm
Okay,
gonna make that
all right.
decision. Keep going.
So next Tuesday, the 9th of May, we are having our first of 3 family workshops. This was mentioned in the superintendent's newsletter end of last week. It is on anxiety and trauma. There will be a reminder, and links will be sent out later on. We're just getting the final pieces of those. I would encourage that starting at 6:30 on Tuesday, May 9th. It will go for about 60 or 70 minutes. There will be questions and answers at the end. Unfortunately, it's not going to be able to be recorded, so people do need to attend live. This is the first of 3, all of which are happening in the month of May. I'd like to say congratulations to Mrs. Sheridan and her staff. As you have at your place right here is our audit report. And this is a clean audit report, as they like to say in accounting terms. There are no findings. Once again, this is a testament to Mrs. Sheridan's leadership, her attention to detail, if you hadn't noticed that over the last few years. But this is, it is a pat in the back, so that audit report is at your place. The 1-year SIPs are linked into your agenda. Actually, it's under the superintendent's report. If you click on that, there's a folder with the 3 or 4 schools in there. Those are just the updates for your information. If you have questions, please let me know, and we will get you the answers. And people are still completing their 2-year plans as we speak. I also want to put out a plug. The post-prom committee is looking for volunteers. Prom is this Friday. They are short volunteers, usually underclassmen, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. Parents will chaperone that event. It is an all-night event. People sign up for a shift. You don't have to be there all night. But there was a parent square sent out yesterday with an email contact. Please contact the committee. They'll get back to you, let you know what they're looking for and what have you. But that is desperately needed. They are short for Friday. So if you're able to help out, please look for that. Yes.
So it's too late to get a Corey's. They would have to already have it on file.
We can turn those around in 24 hours.
Okay.
But, I mean, Friday morning would not work, but tomorrow would, okay? I want to also give a shout out to Karen Hurley. Karen Hurley has worked diligently all year. For those of you who were able to attend the boot camp and the Race to Embrace Community Day on the 30th, it was a great weekend to celebrate and raise funds for our unified sporting events. Karen has worked diligently on this, and I just want to congratulate and thank her for all of her hard work. The other piece of news is that the Norwood Public Schools has just recently been awarded one of the best communities for music education in the country. So this was recognized by the NAMM Foundation, which stands for the National Association of Music Merchants Foundation, which is a it is a independent foundation. It's not a company, if you will. And it's a way to acknowledge and celebrate the district's innovation, to develop stronger presence for music education on campus and the lives of students, to qualify districts, answer questions about funding, graduation requirements, music class participation, instructional time, facilities, support for music program and community music making programs. Designations are made to districts and schools that demonstrate an exceptionally high commitment to access to music education. So congratulations, Norwood Public Schools, and especially Jeff Kerr, who did get an invite to apply for that award. There will be a press release going out tomorrow, so you might see it in the papers as well, but that was some great news. And then the last day of school, by my calculation, will be Wednesday, the 21st of June. Then June 19th, which is Monday, Juneteenth, is a holiday, but we'll be back Tuesday. That Wednesday, the 21st, is a half a day. And just for a little poking of certain people who have been trolling me on not calling a snow day, I'm calling a snow day on the 22nd of June, just so everybody knows, okay? And job openings, we are starting to post our anticipated openings. We are starting with retirements. Any sort of new position will occur after town meeting, hoping that our budget will pass. We still do have needs that are currently posted: school psychologists, 5 paraprofessionals, long and short-term substitutes, extended day staff. We are looking for summer extended day staff currently, as well as summer program staff. So please check out the website. On the right-hand side, careers, there's a link there to see the current job openings. If you're looking for a teaching position or what have you, those will be up if definitely by the end of this week, the first round, with the second round coming the end of next week. So please take a look. And that concludes my report.
Okay, so before I ask for the vote, any questions not related to that vote we're taking on that one-to-one para? Administrative team, any comment? No? Okay, do I have a motion?
Clarification first.
Yes.
So it's a 0.8 FTE paraprofessional for the rest of this year, and then adding the 0.2 for the 1.0? Oh.
The child's going on to kindergarten.
Oh, okay. So 0.8 now for the LMPA, and then the 0.8 will increase to a 1.0 in the fall for the Willet. I will make the motion to approve the 0.8 FTE paraprofessional for the rest of the school year, and then increase it further to a 1.0 FTE for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you, Teresa. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kate seconds. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So the motion passes 4-0.
You have to
Comment?
ask for discussion.
Oh,
Point of order.
missed discussion.
I,
No, no
and
discussion.
I do
though.
have a question.
Okay, go.
Was there another one-to-one request for the Willet that got filled this year?
There was one earlier in the year.
And that got filled?
Yes.
Or was it, oh, I'm thinking of, never mind, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, an after-school thing. Okay, thanks.
We do still have some positions open.
Yeah, we do still have
Okay,
paraprofessionals.
so you're waiting. And then there was a question about a after-school.
Yes, there is, we're still looking for that.
Okay. Okay.
Forever.
Along with the psychologist.
And a psychologist.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
And we recently have a job opening for a financial analyst.
Okay.
As
Will be
Samantha
posted?
Stone has given her resignation because she got a job as a business manager. So
Oh,
kudos to her.
Congratulations to her.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Sad for us.
Sad for
wonderful
us.
her.
Good for her.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along here.
Wait, did we take that vote?
We did. 4-0. Teresa made the motion to approve. Kate seconded it. I may or may not have made a mistake in my amateur third or fourth fill-in here. Okay, moving right along to budget. Miss Stewart, the budget subcommittee update.
Yeah, so we met on April 24th. The majority of what was discussed at that meeting, Ms. Sheridan is going to take us through tonight, so I won't go into those details. But let's see, Dr. Thompson, Ms. Sheridan, and Anne Marie went to the town meeting info session on the 24th. My understanding is that went well. If anybody missed it, you can watch the recording online. We are going tomorrow, Dr. Thompson and I, to a meeting with the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Commission and others around the warrant meeting to finalize the language for town meeting. Town meeting starts Monday, the 8th. I believe Dr. Thompson sent out some slides and just wanted people to give him any feedback if there's anything that you would like him to add or change. Probably get that feedback by Friday.
No. It's got to be back to me by tomorrow morning.
By tomorrow morning. Oh, okay. It has to go to them. Okay, got it.
Right.
So
I
by
have to get it
tomorrow
to them
morning.
by midday tomorrow. So.
Okay, so if you haven't, take a look at that and let Dave know by tomorrow. We are meeting as a subcommittee again on Tuesday, May 9th. At that meeting, we're really trying to focus on priorities and goals and timeline of the budget subcommittee work to formulate that a little bit more, to then bring it back to the full school committee on May 17th. We will also be talking about the rental fees and policy, which will come back to the full school committee on May 17th, and then continuing our analysis of the shared cost allocation agreement with the town. And then also on May 9th, we are going to the Board of Selectmen meeting. Tonight we are going to discuss and vote on removing some money from the special reserve fund, and if we vote in the affirmative, then the Board of Selectmen also needs to vote in the affirmative.
Roughly.
So that is the timeline of the budget work.
Okay. Questions or comments from the committee for Teresa, budget subcommittee? Seeing none, we'll move right along. Ms. Sheridan, time to turn it over to you for the Ms. Sheridan show.
Okay, so you want me to bring up the PowerPoint?
Which one am I bringing up, the BTD or the quarterly report discussion?
The budget to date conference.
It's a spreadsheet.
I think she,
The PowerPoint.
yeah, I think Jamie has the PowerPoint linked under the quarterly
Yep.
discussion.
Just trying to confuse me, I know. Doing a fine job, yep.
Okay, so this is the budget to date, and these figures are through March 31st, 2023. Okay, so we can go to the next slide. Of course, we all know this budget this year. We're going to stay on this slide for a little bit tonight. So as you guys recall, this slide we have every time we do a quarterly report, and it gives you the budget to date on each of the Department of Education function codes. So we started with a budget of $52,801,033. Expended to date of March 31st is $31,274,608. Encumbrances of $21,674,281, with a year-to-date balance of negative $147,856. So 100.28% of the budget has expended to date if you include the encumbrances. So the negative $147,856, we still have the $300,000 in the Special Education Stabilization Fund, which we will be talking about that in a little bit. And we also have some circuit breaker left. What we have allocated in circuit breaker thus far is $2,791,789. So this figure of the negative $147,856 includes all of the circuit breaker that we are required to allocate this year, because you have 2 years to allocate it. All right, so we've used all that. The amount of budgeted circuit breaker that I have remaining is $363,211. And then we have $300,000 of the Special Education Stabilization Fund. To say that I think this is a great report, it's not a great report. It has me a little concerned, but we're, as we go forward, show a little bit more of it. If you look at the DESI function codes, instructional services, it's 76.61%. It's up from 75.55% of the last report. The programs of other school districts, the out-of-district tuition, so that's down to 9.84% from 11.74% on the last quarter, and that's due to the fact that we're using more circuit breaker money. So the more I use the circuit breaker, the less we're using our funds, so that's why that percentage is going down. Other school services, which includes the transportation, athletics, lunchroom stipends, student activities, it's up to 9.2%, and that's up from 8.46% on the last report. The transportation expenditures just continue to rise. We're over budget as of this report in transportation by $689,160, and the last report we were over budget by $450,556. I don't have any solutions for this. I can tell you that the biggest thing that's going on with the vans right now is continually having to repair them. They're just breaking down like crazy. We are still looking for vans. I literally went down Route 1 looking for what types of vehicles we could possibly purchase. So we are reaching out to Ford, Chevy, trying to find different vehicles. And at this point, I don't think we're going to be picky on any color we get. It's going to have to be,
Pink is fine with me at
does
this
it have some wheels and a steering wheel and meets the regulations. So that's where we are with that.
Karen, did you say we're 689,160
As
over
of March 31st.
in transportation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. District leadership and administration, 2.83%. It was down from 2.85% the last quarter. We've allocated all of the collective bargaining reserve, so that is all gone. Operation and maintenance of plants remain the same at 1.39%. Benefit and fixed charges, I've estimated what we're going to be paying out for the sick leave and the vacation. So that is up a little at 0.114%, and last report it was 0.002%. Community services is at 0 right now. I haven't gotten any invoices for the interface contract of the NOAA UPD. I'm not sure if
there wasn't a Metro West survey this year because it's every 2.
An interface.
But that will come up again in October. And interface, Stacy was able to roll that into some ARPA funding or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then that will stay at the 0%, okay? So again, it continues to be special education as an area to watch. The number of students transported continues to fluctuate, including the homeless students. So we'll bring some kids that no longer need the transportation, and then we get some more kids that need the transportation, so it's flip-flopping like that. As of 3/21, we had 109 in-district special education students being transported. We have 53 out-of-district students being transported, 39 preschool, and that's 201. And then we have 13 homeless students, 8 of which are being transported by contracted services, 4 in-house transportation, and 1 parent is transporting on the homeless. And that's a lot of the reason why that's an increase with these contracted services. The other area of the concern, which is growing, in my opinion, greater than the transportation, is out-of-district tuition becoming concerning. We budgeted at 69. The first quarter budget-to-date report, we had 69. On the second quarter budget-to-date report, we had 77, which is an increase of 8. As of this report, it's 79 with another increase of 2 more. And then when I look this week, we are at 82 out-of-districts that are placed, 3 referrals. So we are potentially going to be at 85. So that's an increase of 16 over budget. So it's a large increase for a budget to sustain. And we are budgeted for 74 out-of-district students in FY '24. So I'm hoping that the 85 out-of-district students doesn't continue because we are budgeted for 74 in FY '24. A review of the out-of-district tuition this week. I just went thoroughly through the general fund today, trying to see if I could get an idea of where I am right now, because I'm not doing quarterly, I'm doing every other week right now to see where I am, to make sure that I stay, so I'm not negative at the end of the year and I don't go back to the town. I have froze the budget. Right now, over and above this, I have an additional cost of $252,000 for out-of-district students, and that does not include 3 that were placed, but I don't have the PO on them yet, and 3 referral packets that are up. So I just want you to know that I am really watching this budget like a hawk right now, and that these 2 areas are just, it's difficult because they're 2 areas that we really don't have much control over, but they are consuming a lot of the budget. All right.
Karen, before you go, can you explain, you just said you froze the budget. Could you explain for everybody in the community and on the committee what that means?
So what I did was, because I had concerns, and this is very early for me, to give you an idea, we did some prepaying last year of out-of-district tuition. We also, you know, we had opportunity to try to prepay some of the expenditures. So what we did was we froze the budget, so if there's something that is important and really necessity, then they just let me know what it is and it goes through. The superintendent and I will look at those expenditures, but we're making sure that nothing goes through without being reviewed first because of the situation. I would like to hold on to as much circuit breaker as I can because of next year. I'd like to hold on to it. And the budgeted amount of circuit breaker that we have for next year is pretty substantial. I do have some good news when we get to circuit breakers, so hold off a little bit for that good news. But right now, sorry to say, it's not great news that I'm bringing to you tonight. If you go to the next slide. On the budget to date by categories, the general education for the expended and encumbered all the expenditures is 61.47%. It's up a little over last but quarter to date. Special education 35.14%, down a little, but again because we're using more federal funding. And EL is at 3.39, pretty stagnant. The staffings, general ed 67.48, SPED 28.59, and EL 3.93. If you go to the next one. So circuit breaker, as I indicated, is we are up to 79 out-of-district students. The 363,211 remains in our budget circuit breaker. As I indicated, it appears I'm going to need another 261,211. So it's possible that I may only have about 102,000 of that circuit breaker remaining. And then I am tonight bringing to you to request 150,000 from the Special Education Reserve Fund, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be coming next school committee meeting to request the other 150,000. So that will deplete the Special Education Reserve that we have budgeted this year, and we cannot touch any more of it because we have budgeted the remainder of it in FY24 budget. The one good news that I did get is we did qualify for extraordinary relief, and the extraordinary relief is in the amount of 578,386. Okay, so a little bit of good news there. So
just like everything that comes from the state. Here's some, but not everything.
Yeah. So you got 507,386 there. So again, my plan, if you are all in agreement, is to try to hold on as much as the circuit breaker that I can right now for next year, given the fact that we're pretty close to using everything that we budgeted, and we haven't had to do that since I've been here. So I'm just going to keep trying to hold on as much as that as I can.
Karen, when we get the extraordinary relief, I know that goes directly to the schools.
Mhm.
Does that go into circuit breaker, or where does that go?
It'll go into circuit breaker.
Yeah.
We should get it by the end of the year. I think they.
Budget or calendar?
By fiscal year, by the end of fiscal year. I emailed them today because I knew we had qualified, but they hadn't released how much we were going to be getting. I don't know this for a fact, but my guess is maybe a lot of people qualified for extraordinary relief because the claim that we put through was more than the amount that we got back. So I haven't seen the report come back yet, so I don't know if that meant that they maybe changed the claim a little, or if we did, or if the state was not able to get everybody 75% reimbursement of that. I'll know that later when all the real facts come through.
Okay.
The number was just an email that I asked if possibly had it for tonight, so I can
Okay.
tell you that.
Thank you.
Okay. If you want to go to the next slide. The Medicaid, we now have 3 out of the 4 quarters of Medicaid in, so we have 237,730. If we receive the same final quarter as we did last year, then we should be at about 336 for the Medicaid. Could be a little under, a little over, estimating by the last quarter that I got last year. So that's pretty much going in line in what we anticipated it was going to be doing. And then the revolving funds. We got the revolving funds, the balancing to revolving funds. So again, these are the offsets, the ones that have the offset. The revolving funds are in good shape. And at this point, I still feel confident that the FY24 budget offsets that we have in for the revolving funds are going to be fine. I don't foresee trouble with the majority of the revolving funds, except, like you said, we're going to be watching the circuit breaker and the special education stabilization fund. And this, I showed here the budget offset that has been applied to date for each one of these. So the school bus fees, the balance to date is $135,896, but we've already allocated all the budget offset. So that one should be fine. The preschool tuition, the balance is $195,497, and that still has revenue coming in, and I feel pretty confident that that one's going to be okay too. Athletic user fee, that budget offset has been completely allocated, and they have $81,393. So they should be fine with their budget offset next year. Same with drama and music. I really don't foresee any troubles with any of those revolving funds. The grant funding. The grants for FY23 grant awards, $2,623,323, 23 grants, 39% expended to date. And again, the 22 grants, 59% expended to date, 21, 99% expended to date, and FY20, 100%. We have 50.78 grant employees at the moment that are being funded through the grants. And the benefits and the pensions that are estimated for those grants and are $532,757, and those are fully paid by the grants. So, the staffing, to date we have 535.93 employees, 321, 60% of the staff is general ed, 194 special ed, that's 36% of the total staff, and 21.5 EL, and that's 4% of the total staff. The school committee approved, so you were at 15.9, and then tonight you just added that 0.8. So that's pretty much the budget to date. If anybody has any questions on that.
So, I'll kick it to the committee, because then we have votes that you need from us separately, but any questions on budget to date, quarterly report? Dr. Goodman?
Why is the Medicaid down so much from what happened in FY22 that was such the anomaly?
On FY22 is when they made some changes to the Medicaid program.
Okay.
So then we did not anticipate that much. What they did
Right.
was they gave you some, they aligned some of the other previous quarters with the new Medicaid program.
Okay.
So we got some extra money from previous quarters.
From previous year, okay.
Previous quarters that we received this year.
Okay.
So we knew that it was only gonna be about 350,000, and it's trending right now, between 325 maybe and 350.
Great.
So it's still higher than, previous years,
Mhm.
but not as high as that year.
Yeah, and prior to that, we weren't taking in any Medicaid money, correct? Prior to FY20?
Yeah, very little, 50,000-60,000.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that I know that your staff did a ton and continues to do a ton of work
Yeah,
to
it's
do
been-
Medicaid reimbursement. And
Then-
so I don't want people to look at this graph
Oh,
and,
no,
and
that's
get
only
the wrong
because
impression.
of the allocations there. I think the biggest thing that's going on with Medicaid is we have, a couple of eyes on it, making sure that, we can
Get everything
do
we're
it
entitled
accurately
to.
and just best. I mean, there's still other things that you could do with Medicaid, but they take so much time and so much effort, and the staffing with therapists and stuff, that they just don't have time to.
Thank you.
Yeah, so FY22 is a abnormal bump, basically. But we've been working diligently for the last 3-4 years to get that up. It should be between 300 and 350
Right.
a year, basically.
And I should shout out to Samantha Stone and Dottie Cronin, because they do a lot of work for that.
And Jill Driscoll.
And Jill does some,
Right.
you're right.
And the nursing staff, so.
There's some others. So if you don't have any other questions on that, then.
Just one question so budget being frozen, which you're monitoring, and then when we get like the Q4, the end of the year report, where in the spreadsheet would we see like those adjustments? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure what you mean.
So, just making up numbers, but like, let's say there was $10,000 left at the high school, but you froze that, so that $10,000 wasn't used for what was planned.
Oh, if you look at your detail, you can see it line by line.
Yep.
Line by line, what's left in each line.
Yeah.
I'm planning on probably giving you a little more update before the final quarter, just
Okay.
to keep you guys informed on where we are, given the facts this year. Right now, I have sent out, the open purchase order list to see if people can really review them and see if they can close what they don't need. So we're trying to do that earlier this year.
Okay.
To see if we can, close some of these POs. Sometimes people will leave them open to the end of the year. And so we did just send that out, a couple of weeks ago. We just got that back. And I'll be continuing to send that out so I can really try to close any POs that we don't need and be able to have the funding available. So, Sarah Taggett did that, for me, the last couple of weeks, and that went to the town, today, to close some of the POs. So hopefully that will give us a little bit of, help there.
Okay.
But we're just gonna be really strictly monitoring it from here until the end of the year and see if any changes happen.
Okay.
And I'll certainly notify you if any changes happen.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question for Dave. For the additional out-of-district that we've seen in mid-year, are these kids that are with us and their needs are changing mid-year and we have to change their environment, or are they kids that are coming into the district and we are immediately placing them out?
It's a little bit of both, but it definitely is kids that are not making, majority are kids that have not made progress or mental health issues that
Okay.
we are not equipped to deal with. I think there's one or maybe two that have been new to us and have kind of gone through that process.
And follow-up would be, from what you know, are other districts seeing this same issue with just
Special
needs
ed in
not being-
general is up everywhere.
I knew that.
The district is up everywhere. Some of these were probably kids we were looking at possibly going out, and places that become available over time, which is why you've seen some of the
see.
numbers shift, because they have staffing problems too.
Gotcha. Thanks, Karen. Sorry, I just.
Can I ask a process question, Dr. Thompson? So, a process question. So, Ms. Semino obviously is working with her team in that process. Sometimes, as you just identified, there's a wait. At what point is it communicated with Ms. Sheridan that that number might be hitting the budget? Once we secure the placement?
After the team makes a decision
Makes the decision to look or makes the decision to place?
to place. Right. So, I mean, obviously, our priority is to serve our children in district for many reasons. And it's not just about cost. It's about quality of the program, able to shift them back into, or some sort of partial back in with regular students. They have role models in here. They have peers and friends if they're going to school in Norwood. If they're driving 20 miles to go, they don't have peers and friends. So there's all sorts of reasons for that. So that's kind of our first priority, but sometimes the needs are greater than what we can do. And we're definitely seeing that around mental health in a lot of cases. And sometimes that can be fine, and there's something that happens and it is no longer fine, or it gets worse.
And Ms. Sheridan, the out-of-district increase is tied to the transportation line being 600,000 plus over, correct?
Yep.
Yes, every time. Like
Right.
we have like
We don't
four.
have the vans right now to transport them, so it's a double hit. It isn't just a tuition.
Yeah.
It's getting them there as well.
It comes to transportation, right. I mean, we do, work, with the special education department what's in the out of district, so we can monitor the spending as well.
Right, but there is a process, there's a form that's filled out, and go through that usually when, I mean, it's hard to say where they're going to be until they're accepted into a program, but yes.
Any other questions? No. Okay, well, thank you for the budget update. And now, Dr. Thompson, you're listed on the next one, but Special Ed Reserve Fund. So an overview, and then we'll just vote one by one with these.
Yes, so we're asking to pull from the Special Ed Reserve Fund for a grand total of $150,000. 10,000 of that will go towards special ed transportation. Can't read the whole thing for some reason here. Actually, 10, 20, 30 for out-of-district transportation, 20,000 for special ed repair and maintenance. Again, that problem of our old vans constantly having to fix them. And then 120,000 towards contracted services, which again is having to hire outside, which we have not had to do until this year, for a grand total of 150,000. So I would ask that the school committee approve that request, and we would go to the selectmen and ask them to approve it as well.
Okay. Is there any questions?
I have a quick question, and this is just a highlight for the community. So this is 150 and now, and then we have some included in the FY24 budget. So where would that leave the special ed
So
stabilization fund?
there's 850 there now. There's 150 that I'm requesting tonight. I'll probably be requesting the other 150 on the next school committee meeting. And then there's 500,000 that is budgeted for FY24, so that will deplete the special ed. Well, I mean, we don't use it until we need it, so
Right.
the 500,000 can't be touched until, because it's gonna be budgeted in
But that's what we have in budget. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay.
I move to approve the request to move it on to the board of the select board.
Well, we have to approve the transfer.
Restate, yeah. So we need to move 150 from sped reserve to the general fund.
I moved to approve that.
Okay.
I want to mess it up. so-
Nope, you're fine. So move to approve the transfer. Do I have a second?
The transfer, yeah.
Second.
Teresa seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will now entertain a vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4, none against, so that will pass 4-0. Thank you. Sticking with the Ms. Sheridan Show. The quarterly report transfers.
And so this is the first of the quarterly budget transfers, I'm happy to say. So we've got the transfers approved by the superintendent in the amount of $27,832.16. There's one from Dr. Galligan. He's transferring some money for some computers for Innovative Pathways students in the amount of $17,695.75. Another one from Dr. Galligan for move some funds from his instructional supply line into his online learning online learning account in the amount of $300. It's Dr. Galligan show here, transferring $5,000 from his software in the amount of $3,000 to his graduation account, high school graduation account. And then the final one is there's various budget transfers that I put in to cover some small overages in various accounts. And those are in the amount of $6,836.41. So those are all approved by the superintendent, so those are only report only, okay? I have two to be approved by the school committee, and they're really, they're various budget transfers to cover adjustments in payroll accounts. And some, I'm not sure if it's even something that really has to be approved by, but I brought to you. Most of them are moving monies, for example, if there's a long-term sub at the high school. So moving some of the high school salary line down to the long-term sub line to cover that deficit. So that's in the amount of $127,915.77, the first one. So again, various budget transfers to cover adjustments in payroll accounts. There was one budget transfer to cover the interim LMPA administrative position. Some for the long-term sub at the high school, long-term sub at the Prescott, at the Oldham, another one at the Willett, a small amount to cover the head guidance shortage for the stipend, for the head guidance stipend. And then there was some movement from in the Oldham account from one account to another. So that's the first one that has to be approved by school committee. And then if I bring them both, there's two of them, because the second one is also similar in nature. It's various budget transfers to cover adjustments in the payroll accounts. And again, just movements. For example, the library staff, there was some movements in that. And then also a lot of the leave of absences and moving the monies that are available in the salary lines to cover the long-term sub account monies. So there's two of them. One's in the amount of $127,915.77, and the other one in the amount of $119,308.11. Another good news that we were able to cover all of the salaries that we had, including the school committee ads this year with the higher downs and the various
Great.
funding. Okay.
So those are 4 and 5. So the quarterly reports and SC approvals that you asked for before we move into grants, we should vote. I'd like to vote those in separately, just because one is SC, the other is transfers. Is that okay?
No, these are two school committee ones that have to be approved.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two. Do you want me to make a motion so you're clear on what we're approving?
So my it's
The first one was just report only.
oh, I misread. I apologize. My mistake. Okay, yes.
And
We're
then
on
the
track
second
again.
is two school committee.
Yep, we're good.
Which you have to sign.
So I'll make a motion to approve a budget transfer for $127,915.77 and a second budget transfer for $119,308.11.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Joan seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none,
I will now entertain a vote. All those in favor of the transfers?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 4-0. Thank you. I got excited. I thought we had 4 votes to take. My mistake.
And then the final thing here I have is one small grant for you guys to accept. It's the ST Math Grant. It's a state grant. For the purpose and description of the grant is for a participation fee of $3,500 per year. New ST Math schools. The award includes $40,000 in licensing, implementation, professional development, and support fees over a 3-year term. So that's the only grant that I have for you to approve or accept.
Dr. Thompson, did you tell us last week that's for the Willet?
Yes, it is for the kindergarten. It is a computer program that basically has a penguin called Gigi in it, and it builds spatial and spatial mathematical skills in children without language. So, yes.
I am confused by this. Can you help me understand? So we're paying $3,500 and we're getting $40,000 worth of services back?
Yes.
Okay.
I was confused in the beginning too. They had explained it to me. I'm like, so it's a grant, but I have to pay some money. But you have it's $3,500 and then you get the license.
It's really like a membership. We're buying a membership into a discount. Okay. Because it says total grant award 0, which was the other part that was confusing me.
Right, because we're not getting any money in, we're only getting the license.
So we don't have to spend the money on licensing.
Right.
Okay.
We just have to pay that $3,500 participation.
I love those.
Okay.
Shipping and handling.
Shipping and
Any
handling.
other questions, clarifying, anything like that?
Just building off of what Joan just asked, because I didn't realize this. I read it differently. So then we would pay the $3,500 the next 2 years as well?
I think you just have to pay the one $3,500.
Just
oh,
one.
Is it per year? I'll have to
No, it says
clarify.
per year. It says per year in there.
Per year,
Yeah.
So would you come back to us every year, or our vote tonight means that the $3,500 comes out of FY '24, '25, '26?
It'll be included in the budget.
Okay.
Well, no offense, but our budget doesn't look so great right now. So to say something's included in the budget is...
Yeah, but I can tell you personally, as someone that was leading a school that was one of the original piloters of this is a great deal and a great investment.
I have no doubt that it's a great deal.
Any other questions? Seeing none. With question on the table, is there a motion?
I'm trying to think of how to word it, because it is a little different than other grants.
It is.
You just want me to say what is in the description?
Sure.
Okay. So I move to approve the ST Math Grant, which is a participation fee of $3,500 per year, and will award us over $40,000 in licensing, implementation, professional development, and support fees over 3 years.
Second.
Kate seconds. Any further discussion?
I'm just going to put out there again, this isn't a grant.
Did we have to apply for it? And
It says it's a grant, but I have to agree, it's a little odd, because when they brought it to me, I was like, okay, so we have to pay.
Yeah,
It
it's
is-
it's
right.
not going to hold me up, but I
Yeah.
just want to be clear, this is not a grant.
Well, we can blame it on Desi, as they call it, the grant.
Oh, there's the...
There it is. So Desi looks great by having a PR press release that says it's a grant.
Yep.
Listen, they're like the tooth fairy.
But really what they're doing is giving us a deep discount on an instructional curriculum tool. Great. Okay.
Lovely.
Got it. Sorry.
No other discussion?
No.
I will now entertain a vote. Those in favor of accepting?
Aye.
Aye. I'm the same. That is 4-0.
Thank you.
That passes.
Thank you, Ms. Sheridan.
Sheridan, thank
Thanks,
you.
Karen.
Lovely. Okay, at the turn here, we are into old business. We already have finished the school health council update using my power as chair. I am going to reshuffle a little bit here.
Get the crown.
Just for sake, hopefully, of efficiencies. So, Dr. Wyeth, if you are ready, could you give us the
We
Highlander
have to
update?
ask us if we agree.
Oh, you agree?
I'd just like to check the power. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I was told I didn't need your approval.
Yeah,
so
no, you got it.
just
With the
gotta
approval
roll
of the
with it.
committee.
Just gotta roll with it. Thank you, Dr. Wyeth, for being so flexible.
Yes, no, I'm ready. If Dr. Thompson wants to pop up the very short slide.
I'm not ready with the zigzagging, but that's okay. I'll catch up fast.
All right, it's a very small slide deck that I shared with you. Basically, all I want to do for now is just to give you a little sense of what the SES data looks like, in this month, actually, the schools will be doing the end of year SES survey, student engagement survey, student experience survey, sorry. I keep wanting to call it engagement, but it's really student experience survey. And so then we can actually compare, or actually hopefully see growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year survey, which will be, I think, interesting data to look at. But for now, you can go to the next slide, Dave. Slide 1 just shows the SES data aligned to the CRISP domains, student versus teacher responses, and it also shows the highest scores versus the lowest scores. And slide 2 shows average student responses versus teacher responses to each of the 26 SES questions. So next slide, Dave. So here, hopefully this is a little more clear to you guys when you have it on your laptop than it is probably for our viewers. But you can see at the top part there, it sort of separates out the student responses versus the teacher responses by some key domain areas, namely academic mindset, awareness, belonging, classroom community, shifting the cognitive load, student moves, and shifting the cognitive load, teacher moves, and critical consciousness, which is sort of the real end game for a lot of this work. We want our students to, have the skill set, the ability, the comfort to really judge what's going on in their lives and the world with a critical understanding of equity, justice, etc. I should say too, the teachers also take a survey that parallels the student survey. So it's really, the students sort of answer the questions, and then the teacher answers how they think the students will answer the survey. So the purpose of that is to see if there's any disconnect between teacher perceptions around these survey questions and student responses. And when we, part of this initial process is to work through that with those, work through those discrepancies with faculty at some of our Highlander PD work, and especially during the leadership PLCs, where we have the principals and a subset of teachers working to look at the data and then share that out with the rest of the staff, typically during staff meetings. So I won't go into this, but you could just sort of see basically how, where we're scoring really high. Those base questions 11, 10, 23, 16, and 18. And then the lower score areas, and that's where, the principals with their leadership team, their PLCs, tend to look at those in particular and say, how can we improve those? And so one of the lower areas, and this we saw pretty consistently over the two administrations. I learned, in this class, I learned that some groups of people are not treated fairly. So that's a pretty big, item, right? And that needs to be unpacked, not just by the kids, but especially by the faculty, and try to make sure that we improve in that particular area. And then the next lowest one was, in this class, I learned about my classmates' cultures. So this is something that has been presented to the staff, and they say, okay, we have part of the evaluation, teacher evaluation, professional practice goals was established this year to sort of work on some of these particular domain areas, and that's how we're trying to sort of leverage some change, is through the teacher evaluation system and also just through some of the follow-up conversations and work. So, yeah, part of this is really heightening teachers' awareness of what kids are saying about what they perceive is going on in their classrooms. And that's important because teachers don't often get that kind of feedback directly from kids. You know, it was one of my big pet peeves is that if I were a teacher, I would always want to ask my kids in my class, how am I doing? You know, and I don't know that we do that enough, quite frankly. And that kind of feedback loop from the students to the teachers is really, really important. So those are a couple of examples there. And then, so on the next slide, Dave, you can see, folks, the 26 questions that are asked on an ongoing basis and what domains those questions are associated with. So again, you could see, they color code these so that you can see sort of what are the stronger responses, namely the dark blue, and what are the weaker responses, which are typically, I guess the color is sort of orange. Those are the lower scores. And again, broken out by student responses and teacher responses. So you can kind of see, just take one example really quickly. That first one, I can do well on all of my classwork even when it is difficult. The students on average rated that a 3.8 out of 4, and the teachers rated it a 2.8 out of 4. So again, that begs a conversation. You know, why do teachers think that kids aren't responding as positively as the kids responded, right? If I'm being clear. So those kinds of discrepancies are what
And again, they're saying how they think the students will answer.
Right, right. So they basically lowballed the students' answers there. I can do well on my classwork even though it is difficult. So they believe that students would not respond as positively to that and respond more negatively.
Dr. Barth, can I make a quick observation?
So, yeah.
Because if you go through it very quickly, and I'm sure you're going to dive deeper, but there seems to be a heavy discrepancy around resilience. I mean, all these questions that are really, students are rating themselves higher than teachers, most of them are around resilience.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good observation, right. And so kids are probably more resilient than the teachers give them credit for. Right, yeah. Right. So, I mean, this is the kind of conversation that we want this data to generate, you know.
What grades is this?
The survey's given to, so this is all students across the district. So it's also disaggregated by demographics. So they disaggregate the data by grade level, by gender, by ethnicity, et cetera. And so it's administered to grades 3 through 12.
3 through 12, okay.
You know, so what our professional development committee is talking about is how, if we don't continue specific professional development work with Highlander, how do we continue to use this survey tool, because they do find it a useful data point on a number of fronts. So that's the conversation we're having right now with the PD committee and the admin team. So when we get the end of year data, I'm happy to come back and do a quick kind of little update in terms of what growth we hopefully see between, you know, the beginning of the year to the end of the year, both from student responses and teacher responses, because the teachers also take the survey again.
Is any of this ever discussed with the students themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll have to double check on that. I want to say yes at the high school level, but I'm not sure. So let me double check on that. I think it may depend on the teacher.
Okay. I asked because at the school health council meeting, it was actually Heather Begg, who was here tonight, when we were talking about the Metro West survey. She had expressed how often students are never formally shared, like, this was the result, right? Like, you participated in this long survey, this is the results, this is the conversation, and she had expressed, and we've also heard some of this from, like, the members on the Student Advisory Council as well, as wanting to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah.
And even elementary, I mean, we can make it developmentally appropriate to have a conversation with our younger students too.
Right, yeah. So I'll get back to you on that, and I'll touch base with Hugh and Margot, and,
Okay.
you know, I think, see in what capacity students, you know, have, you know,
And that's
data shared with them.
That's a 5-point scale, Dr. Wyatt?
I have to check on that too. I thought, yeah, it would be a 5-point scale. I think I may have said a 4-point scale, but I think it's a 5-point scale. Yeah. Sorry. Right, yeah.
Any other questions and or comments from the committee?
Oh, thanks.
Is this a long-term initiative? Like, are we planning to do it other school years, or is it a one-time thing?
Well, that's what I said, we're talking about that right
That's what
now.
you're saying.
Yeah,
Sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
And, you know, there are other issues obviously involved around data privacy, because Highlander is switching over to a new vendor for this survey tool.
Okay.
So Joe is investigating with them, does that new vendor have a data privacy agreement in place? And if not, then it's dead in the water, you know, or they need to get that, you know.
Okay.
So there are all sorts of little twists and turns involved in sort of continuing this, but we'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could I ask that, you know, if you come, I would assume in June for the end of the year survey, one of those meetings, could you also bring the recommendation of the PD committee and the admin team?
Yeah, yeah. I hope to have this all buttoned up for JJ by the time I leave. So my anxiety level's right up here right now, because I'm looking at the number of days left.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so.
You can do it, Dr.
That's the
Wyatt.
goal.
I believe in your resilience to get it done.
All right.
Okay, well, if there is nothing else, thank you. And continuing our policy of out of order, I would like to jump to the naming of the middle school process. And just to share with the committee, I would like to go middle school process, SC meetings, and I'm hoping to get that done in 10 or 15 minutes. That would put us right before 9 o'clock. Then we can move, I think, into the superintendent's goals and our own goals and keep us on track here. So that is the plan. So if, and I don't know, Dave, if you want to pull this up, but I had shared with the committee, asked for feedback. I know at our previous meeting, April 12th, I had shared this, and this was something that, you know, I sort of just feel strongly about when it comes to, you know, naming the new middle school in the selection process. So basically, essentially what I did, this is a document you've seen before. The highlighted dates are the changed dates. So although, you know, I don't believe we should rush, but I also think that the process is pretty spelled out, pretty clear in our policies, what we need. The goal is to name the school by October 31st of this year, scope and sequence. Just coming from the middle school building committee, the school committee has the authority to name. And then again, it is policy FF, which I believe was in the packet as well, but I quote it and sort of explain it. On the second page of this, there's an executive summary, and again, this is nothing new, so this is just a highlight here. But it's pretty clear on, you know, an orderly procedure to adopt for naming, and that is right from policy FF. The submission of name for a school space may be made by any resident or by the superintendent in writing, and should be made to the school committee chair. If a name is being initiated at the school level, local school level, principal should take reasonable steps to include the school council and PTA, PTO in the nomination of the name before submission to the school committee. So essentially, it's, you know, listing, I think, some of the community groups to do this. And then it actually spells out, which is nice, the written request should specify the intent of the requester and the reasons why this particular name would fit the facility, should offer appropriate background information of the person or organization, after which the facility will be named. It does say an offer of financial contribution to the school district may accompany the naming request, but the school committee is not obligated to accept or reject a name based on that. So we don't have to. Yes, somebody could attach money, but it doesn't matter. And again, following the submission of a naming request, the school committee chair will specify a consideration period that allows for public comment, following which the committee will deliberate and vote on the name. So essentially from that, how I read that, you guys could differ, is I think that there needs to be a period where we put it out, publicize it, allow people to do that. There's also a form that I have created if that needs to be updated to accept those requests. With this, I will say very, very strongly, and this is not obviously the opinion of the board, this is the opinion of me. I work in schools, I understand. I recognize that historically we have chosen names of schools, and you can sort of go around. The basic example I'll use is JFK. There are a lot of John Fitzgerald Kennedy elementary schools, because there was a period as these schools were being built, post his assassination, where they then choose a name, right? And that's to say that some of these schools are named in sort of the era in they're built, that is definitely a representation. Personally, I love directions, I love roads, I love general, because there are so many different groups that, and this is sort of why I feel so strongly about this, that share, are a part of that building. That it's not to say that there are not good ideas, it's not to say that it's, a bad thing that we have multiple elementary and middle schools with names after people that were in the town. I think that's important, that is a contextual piece. However, I personally just feel like, the school should be, yes, about all of that, but we're also concerned about the kids in it. And I think very shortly, for instance, in a district I used to work in, there was a hallway named after someone, and very shortly, that hallway, sort of the memory is forgotten as teachers, sort of retire and students don't have that teacher, and it really just becomes a name. So I feel very strongly about, street names, directions, general is mine. That is my own personal opinion and bias. I understand, it may not turn out that way. That's why we have this process, but I will just put that clear. The other thing too, just to say it, other districts I have worked in where we overname, where we begin to name or put a name to every little thing, a hallway, a classroom, an entryway, a building, a field, right? And again, it is not a judgment, just an observation where I feel very, very strongly about, we're about the kids that are there. But anyway, Appendix A, which is page 3, you will see is all highlighted and new. So we sort of changed that date. I changed April 12th. That's when we talked about it first. And we sort of began that discussion. Today is May 3rd. There's a discussion. I would like to take a vote on this. May 3rd through June 7th, if, and this is all going to depend on if it passes here, we make the form available to put into nomination. We push out to PTOs, PTAs, building principals in the community. And that time, we would publicize, it is over a month, that then the community at large has the opportunity to do that. And I think really the important thing is where we push this is through our schools, right? With those PTOs, with those PTAs, with general community members. You can do that per policy FF. Then it would close June 7th. So that would be, I think, like the end of the first week of June or beginning of the second week of June. On June 21st, which would be our reorganization and last meeting of this school calendar year. We review all of those submissions between the 21st or the 7th and the 21st, and we create a list to be presented at a forum in the fall. And then we can choose and schedule a date for the forum then. So the idea of that is by June 21st, we have had the open period, we have given people the ability to collect names, we then collect names. Under that policy and the way that I have read it, is we then can create a list based on that. And we pick, and I'm not talking a list of like 3 names, we could pick a list of 10 names. Or we just bring all of them and we schedule in the fall an open forum or public comment where it's not necessarily us speaking, but we're listening, we invite the community members, we can have a list of those names and publicize, give the opportunity for people to comment and sort of, lobby, show their support for what they would like. This is where I think it gets a little, sort of we can go, but again, in September, we would have that night. Once we do that, from that public comment night, I would think a survey, maybe people that have it ready for people there, maybe you open it to the wider community for a certain amount of time. but then we cut that list from this to like 5 or to 3. That could be adjusted as well. In the second meeting, our second scheduled school committee in September, we present a list of the top 3 choices as selected by the school committee and the community input, and we plan for the next steps to vote on. The next step, I know I had mentioned it at the last meeting, and I don't want to say I'm not committing the town to anything, but it was something that was done in a neighboring community. I will give this credit to Westwood, where they had taken they're building an elementary school, they collapsed 2 to make it 1, and they then allowed some of the students that would first occupy that building the ability to choose those names. I think that would be a really, really cool hands-on experiential learning experience for some of our elementary kids that we would then give the opportunity, and however that would work. Obviously, we would ask if the town were willing and interested in what that works. I'm not saying that we have to do it, but we would reach out to them to see and do a day in October for those 4th and 5th graders that will be in the fall, that will be some of the first to occupy that building as some of the oldest students, the ability to choose the name. And they could do that by voting, that's fun, because then we can create the ballot and do all those things.
Mhm.
Again, I know I'm sort of making work here for people from where I sit, and I'm cognizant of that, but I think that would be a really, really cool way to do that. So the last page is, the information about the nomination form. I have just talked a whole bunch before I open it up to the committee. Dr. Thompson, where have I messed up?
Can't find one yet. I'll keep looking.
Okay, so I will open it up to the committee and the rest of the administration just for feedback, questions, comments. Yes, let's go Teresa first.
Thank you, David, for working on this. It's, you put a lot of things together with the policy and the procedure and the timeline. 2 sets of questions. So I know and I appreciate wanting to get this done.
Yep.
I'm a little worried about trying to get engagement in May and then again in September.
Okay.
Just because those are busy times of the school year, and also a time when open houses happen in September and PTOs have events and everybody's trying to acclimate to being back to school. So I just wonder if those are like the right timeframes to engage people, because a couple people reached out to me today when I posted our agenda on my school committee Facebook page, which I always do, to say, whoa, what's going on with the middle school naming? Like, people had no idea that this was on the radar.
And my pushback would be, people only see what's directly in front of them. We had talked about this. This has been something that was publicized at an MSBC meeting in February, and I understand that, but my second follow-up, and it is not fighting, it is just merely stating, is we had a busy budget cycle this year. You and the budget team have indicated next year is going to be tough. We're going to be in the building process. We were going to be in negotiations.
Yeah.
I don't know when we're not going to have a time that's super busy. So that is my pushback, but I hear that question.
Yeah.
You did have a second one.
So the timeline is the first question. The second question is the voting.
Yep.
You know that I love students voting. Have no problem with the 4th and 5th grade. But also wonder if we would consider opening it up to the current Coakley kids, because even though they won't be, 6th grade next year will be, but even though 7th and 8th grade won't be in the new building, they will very much be a part of the process of the building of the school. And I personally know some current 6th graders who are very mad that they will not be in the new school. So I just wonder if engaging those kids who, they are going to be impacted by that building every day, they might want to also vote.
Okay.
So those are my 2 sets of questions.
Related, I think it's a great plan. I think we can make the timeline work as long as we, to Teresa's point, do the use Parent Square and get the word out and make sure that we're reaching people in an effective way. But it's not going to be top priority for busy families, so we just need to do a few reminders, give space. That's my 2 cents.
Totally. Joan.
I think we need to bump there's no reason that we need to review the names on the 21st. It makes more sense to me to have that open comment period take place through the end of the school year, when you might have a little bit more freedom in the school curriculum to actually do some work around that, rather than cramming, because right now folks are doing MCAS, those types of things. The end of the year is a little bit looser, and then we could do that review during a summer meeting. That's not a heavy lift.
Yeah.
And then the other piece is mine was similar, is like, I think the rising sixth graders will be living through 2 years of construction and then occupying the new building. So I would actually think that it's that group of kids who gets the privilege of selecting the names. But I'm open to all Coakley folks. But the rising sixth graders are going to be literally in a building next to the building being constructed. It's going to be so disruptive.
Yeah, they'll be thinking a lot about it.
Yeah.
So the two big things I'm hearing are timeline and those involved. I just threw out 4th and 5th grade because, again, people that will be sort of first to occupy, that's just how I did it. So would we be comfortable 4 to 8 doing that vote? That's an easy change for me.
I'm not sure why the 4th graders.
Because if it's the 4th graders in the fall, they'll be 6th or 7th. So they'll be, like, why I suggest them is because they're going to be some of the oldest occupants of the building when it opens.
I don't have, there's a large group of students who are going to be impacted by the construction, and it is not kids who are currently in 4th grade.
So you're just saying switch it to the kids that are in the building?
I think it needs to be the kids who are being impacted by the actual construction process. We've seen how tight that is. They're building a building right up against another building.
And we need to, just another note, David, we need to be clear about letting the community understand the process so that they're going to get, the students are going to get the choices that have been whittled down. First, it'll be for the community, then the
Correct.
school committee,
Yes.
to what makes
For the
sense.
policy.
Right, so, and that should be explained from the very beginning.
Yes.
With the form and everything, I feel like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is the approval of this, is that this can be posted and go out with that. But just to clarify, so, and again, I'm about opportunity. If we publicize and make the opportunity to people, we're still gonna get people in November that complain about the name
For
of the
sure.
building. I just wanna set this up for you and be clear. This process could be all the T's crossed, I's dotted, that is part of being in the public sphere, and I hear that. But to correct, so like, again, I was just thinking and picking arbitrary numbers for grades. You guys are more comfortable like 5 through 8 votes or just 6 through 8?
Are we're talking 5th graders in the fall?
Yes.
I would.
You can tell me
5,
no.
6.
At this point, if to get this passed, it's gotta go 6 through 8.
No, the only thing I'm saying is it should be folks who are going to be in the building while the construction is happening. So is that 5 through 8 current in the fall? No, 5 through. Would that be 5 through 8 in the fall?
It would be 5 through 8 because then the 5th graders. Yeah.
As 6th graders, you'll still be finishing the building.
As kind of like the Coakley community under construction.
Yeah, would be
Oh, that's
September's 5 through 8.
5 through 8, yeah. We should
And
get them
that's cute,
t-shirts too.
'cause that's the new one.
I'm known for warm and fuzzy.
I don't think we need t-shirts for this, but
The only thing I would
I
add.
survived the Coakley construction, are you kidding?
Are we voting on the form too, David?
yes.
Okay, I would, so,
But hang on.
okay.
So I am going to officially, per the recommendation, make the change that 5 through 8 fall
Right.
September of 2023. Yes, would
Yeah.
vote.
I would-
Second, are we comfortable with, and Joan, can you repeat what you said?
I'd
You
like
would-
to move the public comment period to June, from May 3rd to June 21st.
You're a lot more generous than I am.
I know.
Okay?
And move the June 21st to one of the summer meetings.
You need to be more specific than one of.
Your
I don't
meeting-
know the dates.
I wrote it down, July 18th.
The first one.
July 18th and August 10th are.
July 18th.
Okay. And you are comfortable with then at July 18th fleshing out a little bit more the public comment night?
Yes.
And those other dates?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel like dates and grades voting, we have answered. Kate, your next question, the nomination form.
I just have notes for the form.
Great.
So, I think you need to add a paragraph, so I would vote for it today pending, you know, a revision that we could review. But to add context about the process, just to explain a general sense of the process and this timeline, so people know what to expect, so that they don't think, you know, just so they know what to expect. And then maybe, what do you guys think about putting no change as an option? Or did you purposefully leave it just one thing? Because
that is an excellent point. I did not even think of that.
whether it's no change or you had offered the idea that it's not named after someone and that it's named, you know, yeah, like Norwood Middle School or Norwood.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if people won't necessarily understand that that's an option. Do we need to lead them, mention that as an option, or?
David can make his own recommendation. He can fill out a form.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Nomination form.
I think it's great, and I think it's like, I think of MSBA, right? You know, it's like, this would be no change to the building. This is just a renovation. It's like, you know, sort of same thing, where I think in that conversation, we can say, you know, if you can nominate that we just keep the same name, you can nominate that it stays as such.
Oh, so just write it in the explanation. Sure, okay.
But my thing with the packet is, like, this packet would go out. So they have to, like, to download the form, they would have to download all of it. So they have to read it.
I second Kate's motion that an abbreviated version, this
Yeah, I don't
timeline
think
will
you
fit
wanna-
very easily at the bottom of that nomination form.
Or if we did a 2-pager instead of a 1-pager. If we did timeline and.
I would do a 1-pager. You can fit that timeline in.
Great.
How is the form going out? Are we using Google Forms?
You want to send all 4 pages?
That's why I'm wondering.
Yes, as a history teacher, context, you gotta
No,
read.
people don't.
I know.
But this is why I'm asking, how's it going out? Because if it's going out in Google form, I believe
think
you
you leave
could
it on the
initially
website.
have before you fill out this form, you click this box, you know, like when you sign up for something that says read all the terms
Yeah,
and
but people
conditions.
don't read it.
I know that, but we put it out and they click the box.
But they have to write okay.
Just include the timeline on the bottom of the form,
Okay.
Make it easy, like,
right? If you include that timeline on the bottom of the form, it makes it harder
How
to
would it go
ignore
out?
it.
This is what I think we do. I think you parent square it out and you keep it in a central location on the school website with the MSBC.
yeah.
But that would still be Google, right? We're not using SurveyMonkey anymore, are we?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Good, 'cause
you
that got
can't
tricky.
use that. You don't, the free version only captures like 100 and some odd people, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
We use Google Forms.
So it would be a parent square
Notification.
notification, but it would take you to the Google form that you would complete.
Okay.
And then we'd also ask that the principals are doing stuff within their schools.
Yep.
I would let you ask them. Just
We would
recommend
also
it
ask
goes-
him.
Okay.
I
It's
just
not
think
we,
that
it
the
was-
first 3
we would ask
pages
him.
need to be highly condensed down to like a background.
That's fine. We can absolutely
To like a one
condense the
sheet
form.
at
I am
most.
still putting this whole process is still going on the website. Because I am
Okay,
all about
okay.
posting it and making it public, because then when someone says you didn't do this, I can say this was posted in a public place.
Got it.
You chose not to visit the website.
Let me rephrase that. You're requesting that the committee approves
Yes.
that this whole thing goes on the website.
Yeah, and, yes. So, and I accept the 5 through 8 voting timeline change, so with those and a condensed version. Any other comments or questions from the committee?
I'd like to see the timeline on the nomination form.
Okay. I have a note that says timeline at bottom with 5 through 8 vote. Fall 2023. In a Google form, in Parent Square. Anything else?
I'm cool with that. I would just love to see the revisions and, you know, I could vote it before it goes out, before it goes live.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the process as we've discussed.
Yeah.
With the edits and revisions as discussed. And David will forward the final versions to the
Yeah.
committee before they go live on the website.
So that is the motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Kate seconds. Any other discussion or questions?
Just a question for Dr. Thompson. So if we vote in July on the more specific timeline for September, do the principals have their open houses set in July? Because it always gets really tricky to try to do additional things in September.
Usually set the open houses before we leave.
Okay. I would just feel better if we
Yeah.
know for sure.
Yeah.
That way we are not expecting people or asking people to be at an open house and a forum on the same day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, maybe they could have a computer with a link to the forum so they could do it at open house night. Look, family community engagement check. Dave, would you be opposed to Teresa's suggestion that by our last meeting in June that we have dates set for that?
I thought, ask Dr. Callender.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Can we have?
You just responded to Dr. Callender, do you know that?
The open house dates, we usually,
Can we-
set those. What do we, we put that on the next
Yeah,
agenda?
yeah, we should put that on the next admin agenda, because they have
usually do
not
it.
been set yet that I'm aware
Right,
of, yeah,
but we
for
can have
next
that
year.
conversation.
Yeah.
I would
Before the meeting.
request per the committee that we have that information for the June 21st meeting. Okay.
I will try to go and do it right now.
Questions,
Yeah.
comments, concerns? That took a little bit longer than I thought, but I am very excited, so I am going to entertain, if there's
It's
no
like
more
you get house
discussion, I'm
mode.
going to entertain a vote on the motion to approve this document with edits, and before we make it public, it gets viewed by the committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed, so that passes 4-0. Thank you very much to the committee. I will also say that between Teresa and I, we will also share this information with the middle school building committee as well. So we take one step closer to the new building, which is exciting. So moving right along here, I'm gonna skip goals for a second, just so we can do school committee meetings. I know we had the discussion, so in the draft that I shared with you, it says August 2nd or August 30th. We know we've already set our summer meetings for Tuesday, July 18th, Thursday, August 10th. I will obviously make a plug. I don't think, based on recommendations from administration, that we need 2 of those, so we could make those changes if you want, but if not, that is obviously the will of the committee. I'm just gonna briefly go through this. And I do know Dr. Taylor also put together, which is something I think we can look at as we get closer, like in June. She set up a really nice Google Sheet with subcommittee meetings and really trying to mesh, okay, if it's a school committee meeting week, here are the, the meeting dates that we could hold subcommittees. Obviously, things come up, but just sort of get into a schedule to make it more efficient, and that time from obviously administration. I know we had spoke about this. I think a workshop sometime, I said August 29th, I think it's the Wednesday, but that last week of August with us, we could also call it a subcommittee meeting of the whole, just to discuss some things as we go into the year. So that is a suggestion.
David, I'm pretty sure when we were very tediously trying to figure out our summer meetings, that there were no other summer dates that worked for everybody. And I think at least 1, maybe 2 people could not do late August.
Okay.
Am I misspeaking for folks?
No.
I still think it would be valuable that in that first week or 2, because from what I've heard from the committee, that is something that we would like, and I think that, we can invite MASC to come and help with that. I also think that because this committee is pretty experienced, that we could try to run something of our own. That is a suggestion, take it as you will. We have 2 in September, 13th, 27th, 2 in October, 11th, 25th, 1 in November, which we have normally done. That has been a 1-meeting month. There are a couple of those. I'll speak on that more in a minute. December 6th, December 20th, January 10th, obviously to not come back immediately from break to go into one, we do 24th. Another workshop. I know, Teresa, that you and Karen were sort of instrumental in putting the workshop together that we did this year. I think that was incredibly valuable and incredibly worthwhile and just good. So, I obviously would love for you to do another one if you're comfortable. You absolutely don't have to, but just for the committee to think about that. And I know we usually roll in workshops as our goals. I think that's a really great in-house one that we can sort of continue to build on. So this was something, and I know finance had talked about it. I think February should be a 1-month meeting. The reason why I had suggested the 28th, maybe that's a workshop. You know, I know the way the budget works because we take 3 meetings. I thought maybe that could be the kickoff early. If that's not the case, that's fine. I suggest February 7th then. We can pick that. March 6th, March 20th, March 27th. That's only if the budget is needed. I know that we had pushed back on this too, but I also think that April 10th, or excuse me, April, I think February, November, April should be 1-month meetings. Part of my reason for that is it's not that I don't think we have stuff that we can fill those meetings with, but again, going into my 3rd year on this committee, I have heard a lot that, not just heard a lot and seen a lot, but like the work never ends. And there's so much that we could fill time with. And I think we've been in this space the past couple years of really trying to realign and get back to something that, you know, where you're working, but it is manageable. And I believe none of the arguments are wrong for more meetings, but if we want to make it manageable, we've got to stick to some of these. So that is, again, that is not a reflection of the committee. That is my own opinion. I'm just suggesting that. That is open for conversation. So we go April 10th before break, May 1st, May 15th, June 5th, June 19th. And literally that is just sort of based off previous calendars, just picking those Wednesdays and those dates. So I have spoken enough. Open to the committee for feedback.
So David, I mean,
Yes.
I put my comments in the document already, but
Yep.
I, after 6 years of doing this, have very little confidence that we can get by with 1 meeting a month during budget season. And there is an immense amount of budget work ahead for FY25. I can say that confidently already. And something that we've been talking about in the subcommittee pretty often is what has inadvertently happened over the last couple years is so much of the budget work happening in the subcommittee, and it needs to move now back to the full school committee. Not that we can't have a budget subcommittee and not that we can't do the work, but I think the budget subcommittee has taken on a little too much, that some of it needs to come back to these meetings. I'm totally fine with your proposal, September, October, November, December. January, I'm good with. I just had a comment with the budget workshop. So we did the budget workshop last year at the end of February, or this year, end of February. And that was based off of the broader budget calendar. So if the goal is to have that in January, I think, and Ms. Sheridan and Dr. Thompson tell me your thoughts, but then I think that moves the whole budget timeline earlier, because if you're just getting the stuff from the principals and the directors in December, would you be ready by January to really do a budget workshop again, like we did this current year?
I think the budget workshop, it should be earlier.
You do think it should be earlier?
Yeah, but it's not a workshop on the current budget.
Yeah.
It's a workshop on budgeting and what is a budget.
Well, it was a combination of both this year, and who knows what is going to be needed in January, depending on the BBC process.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if we say we definitely want a budget workshop, but give us a couple of
TBD.
months, because we also have to resume the BBC work, and I think early fall we usually have our budget calendar figured out, so probably in like September we could firm that up, and if the committee could be flexible, January or February, depending on a few variables.
I mean, having any real numbers before, you know, the middle end of February is just not realistic based on the state calendar. So.
Plus, I think the budget workshop helps to develop the budget, so I think it should be early.
Yeah, it can be, and we can talk about challenges and get some direction from the entire
That makes sense.
committee, but as far as a real budget, because basically we come back from, break in December, and we don't really start sitting with the, directors and principals until the second week of January. So.
You want to be able to do a lot of.
So
like
I don't
you said,
even
the budget.
have requests, we don't even have requests compiled until the third week of January.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we're agreeing that the budget workshop's in January, I think that then shifts our entire timeline a month earlier.
Yeah, I'm not convinced there's any value in that, because you can only have one side of it, you don't have any solutions with
Right.
how to do it.
Right. So that's just one thing. And then February on is where I get a little concerned, David. And March, we absolutely need 3 meetings. We tried a few times, only had 2, and we always had to add on the 3rd, so just put it on there. Trust me,
Okay.
we need it. February, just a suggestion, not the end of the world. If we want to do the 7th and the 28th, but the 28th is right after school vacation, which was something that Dr. Thompson and I this past year tried to avoid because it's really hard to get the packets together during break. I know back-to-back meetings are hard too, but we have done that before, so possibly consider February 7th and 14th. Keep your March 6th, 20th, 27th. April's tricky with elections and vacations, so it probably is the month where we can do only one. But looking at like last meeting, tonight, next May, like there's a lot going on. We have 3 long meetings in a row.
Yep.
So I wonder if to balance out only April 10th, if we then do May 1st, 15th, and 29th, which would then do June 12th and 26th, because we can't do the 19th.
The end of May is a nightmare because it's testing and graduation stuff, and those are they're long nights for me. I mean, this is selfish for me personally, but I know especially high school staff. I think when we start opening the door for multiple meetings, we find ways to fill it. But that's just my opinion. Joan.
So in March, we also need to do a budget hearing.
That's
that's the
the
budget.
27th.
Yes.
So, okay, it says only if needed, but.
Well, I didn't write that, but yeah, the budget hearing's
Well,
always
that
the-
has to happen.
Yes. Great.
Okay, so
Budget
that
only.
has to happen. I don't, and in terms of April, I wonder if moving it, can we move it to the following week? Because the longer amount of time that we
That's
can
break.
give.
That's break week.
I know, right?
Because the longer amount of time we can give, then it may even be worth it to do it the week after break, because the longer we can give people to get acclimated, the better. If we have new members
Well,
coming onto the committee.
You got new, for next year, I would advocate it keeping the 10th because, if you're only going to be losing one if that's the case.
I had a meeting 2 days after.
I know, but that's not
Yeah.
ideal.
Yeah.
This was the first year that we shifted it further away from the election cycle for that reason, because we
Yeah.
all lived through that, and
Yeah.
it's not ideal.
So I'm just putting out there that I think we need to
No,
shift.
it was bad
Initiation.
scheduling.
I'd like to shift that one later if possible.
The 10th.
Yeah.
When is break week? Isn't
I
it
don't
the week
have
after?
access. I don't
wanna
have a
say it's the
calendar.
16th through the 20th.
I need to see what it looks like on the calendar. Hold on.
That is the week before vacation.
Excuse me, 15 to 19.
So
10th is before you'd have time because elections will probably
We'll be on
Tuesday
the 2nd?
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
okay.
Well, elections will be the 1st, April 1st,
Yeah,
the
sorry.
Monday.
Sorry.
And then
okay.
break week is the week of the 15th.
Okay, that's fine.
I think that's fine.
It's fine. That's fine. Sorry.
Okay.
I thought the break week would be a week later.
So leave it the 10th.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So what do people think about the February? Like, you want to come back the 28th right after break, Dr. Thompson? And you'll have the ability to get packets to us over break?
So the packets would have to go out on the 16th. So because so
What-
that's it's the same problem. If you go on the 28th, you're either gonna have to tell people they cannot take that as vacation, and that's a whole lot of people. So because everybody's involved in school.
Where is the budget workshop gonna fall?
TBD right now, but it would probably be either, and I will take, you tell us what you need. Either, maybe earlier, like late January, early February, or, we do again as budget season starts that week that we come back.
We could, I mean, if we're gonna do a budget workshop on February 7th, we could leave the 28th as a business meeting with the packet coming to us on the 16th.
So I may,
So you're proposing only one business meeting in February?
No, I'm saying dependent upon when the budget thing happens.
Right, because the workshop isn't a business meeting, it's different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The workshop isn't a business meeting.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that there will be business that needs to be conducted that can be to us by the 16th.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So that they don't have to, the packet can be to us by the 16th and we'll address that on the 28th. What I'm saying is we wouldn't entertain anything that needed to be worked on after the 16th.
Seems like that's not
I don't
ideal.
know. We found that
None of this
difficult
is
to do.
ideal.
What?
That's been difficult to do.
Yeah, that's why we changed it this year.
So, and I will say, you always expect a couple. The last one we had was a longer one. You know, I think we've done a really good job the past year and a half or so of,
Yeah.
you know, every so often we have a marathon, and that happens.
So then, are you advocating for the
I'm
7th and the
advocating
28th?
For November, February, and April to be one meeting months.
I really, the
I don't
only
think we
month
can
I'm
do it
comfortable with
February.
one is November. April makes me nervous, but it is what it is. I'm confidently telling you, you need at least 2 a month for a budget season.
So for February.
Yeah. So we could do the 7th and 28th, or my other proposal was the 7th and the 14th, and it's back to back, which I know Dr. Thompson isn't ideal either, but we have made that work before.
But it's terrible. I mean, this year we had a string where we had 4 weeks in a row where we had meetings. 4 weeks in a row, including an executive session that was over an hour.
Well, I can't predict what executive session topics are.
I understand, but this is like, we have, I come from this place of we have to be able to manage it, so.
I agree, David.
I agree with November and April but I agree that we need to have that extra February meeting on.
Can we
Okay.
do it on the board? Oh.
Well, if you do it on the 14th.
Oh, it's your
you don't
birthday.
have Anything finance.
If that is the will of the committee
That's my birthday.
to make
I
two,
just remembered.
I would ask what,
The 7th is my birthday.
and
Is it really? All right, everybody, when's your birthdays? Give it to me now.
Oh,
I have-
God.
I have multiple birthdays, they all fall in one.
Your birthday's in July. Nice try.
so if that's the case, administration, what would you prefer? February, what?
7 and 14.
Okay. I am going to
You
take.
now know how your boss feels about you, because he said the 7th and the 14th.
I can make sure she's not on the agenda for the 7th, right.
Okay, so let's stay on target here as we get into the later hours of this. So on this, I'm deleting August 2nd or August 30th because we have 2 meetings that are not on Wednesday over the summer.
Yeah, July 18th
I
and
am
August
still-
10th, if you
yeah,
want to put those on.
That's posted, that will be on the final copy.
Okay.
I have advocated that I still think we need a workshop at the start of the year.
Could I suggest you send out a doodle poll for that?
We're not doodle polling, we're figuring it out now.
David, this is a waste of valuable time, and we have a lot of other things
we
to
can
talk
do
about.
agenda.
If,
by
if
email.
we are making the schedule,
The
I
will
think
of
we
the
should
committee
make
is
the
the
But
schedule.
Anne Marie is also not here to
Okay.
figure out a workshop.
Then it needs to be
We can do
sometime
all
in
of
the first
this,
week of September.
we can do all of this in a non-posted meeting, so we need to effectively use our time.
So I think that is borderline a little bit personal, suggesting that we are not using this time effectively. But if the will of the committee is to do that, then that's fine. So the changes to this would be we would have a workshop at the beginning, TBD, probably the first week of September, but we'd leave that TBD, September 13th, 27th business, October 11th, 25th business, November 15th business, December 6th, 20th business, January 10th, 24th business, TBD workshop. Karen will get back to us and as we finish the budget calendar in the fall. February 7th, February 14th, March 6th, March 20th, March 27th, April 10th, May 1st, May 5th, June 5th, June 19th.
So June 19th, we can't meet.
Yeah,
Federal
June
holiday.
So what will we move that one to then?
Do people prefer getting it in before the school year is over, so back to back the 5th and the 12th, or going the 26th, the 5th and the 26th?
The 12th. I
I'm
mean,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
fine.
I will tell you
people could
right
be out
now,
of town.
you're probably gonna, I probably won't be there because my schedule, that's graduation season.
Yeah, I
so-
feel like it's gonna be light, cause traveling will start to happen at the end, and people
Okay.
have graduations.
So 12th.
So we could, you could do it late June too, if that's better. What's better for, what is
we'll-
what do you guys think?
You guys want the 12th?
Usually,
no, I-
usually the week after school gets out, that's when everybody takes a break.
Okay.
So you'd rather get it out of the way, okay.
So with those changes, I leave it to the committee.
And we're still on July 18th and August 10th.
10th.
Yeah.
Okay. And I did confirm those with NCCLA.
Great.
Do you want a motion to approve these revised dates that we just worked through, David?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve the dates that are in front of us. I'll edit it. and to be determined will be a potential workshop end of August, beginning of September, and then also the budget workshop either January or February.
Okay. I have a second clean copy that I will do that and send out.
Okay.
So that is the motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Karen has a.
Okay.
What were the February meetings? Are they
A second.
7 and 14.
7th and 14th.
So you don't want any budget, you don't want any budget, or you don't
Nope.
want to be on the 14th? Okay, understandable.
And the streets won't be there.
Any further discussion or questions?
No, I second.
Yep.
And.
So I will now entertain a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 3. Opposed? Me, 1. Passes 3-1. Okay. Dr. Giblin, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh no, you are on a roll.
Oh my gosh, why are you making me do this?
Because you are on a roll.
Okay. Let us go superintendent goals for year 2, and we will end with our goals. So if you go into the folder that is linked, there is a couple of documents. The one that we tried to put together is the mid-cycle check-in. That's March 8th. There were edits that are in blue with conversations with Dr. Thompson that he had suggested. And then there is a shorter one that is just the goals adjustment. So that is sort of the SparkNotes summary of what Dr. Thompson was thinking. So hopefully you guys had some time to look at those and review. I know Joan spoke with Dr. Thompson. I spoke with Dr. Thompson. We spoke a little bit and felt comfortable with these. Joan, have I missed anything?
You have not.
Dave, is there anything that you would like to comment?
No.
Okay. I will open it up to the rest of the committee for questions, comments, concerns.
David, can you just clarify? Did you say there's 2 different versions?
So there was the mid-cycle check-in document that has everything that we did, and we added stuff to that. And then what we did was we made a small, the adjustment document, which is the goals adjustments 23-24, with some of the specifics. Because there were certain goals that we had left.
No, I
open.
understand. So the mid-cycle check-in that you're referring to, though, that's the one from our March meeting.
Yes.
Okay, but not something that you have done since then.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct,
thank you.
correct.
Okay, so there's
Sorry.
the mid-cycle. That's okay. The mid-cycle check-in from our meeting March 8th, I think, where we already started to make some additions, and then David, you and Joan worked with Dr. Thompson on the couple of areas that needed to be formulated more for year 2.
Yes.
Okay. So I looked at it on Friday. I sent some comments. I appreciate all the work that the 3 of you did, so thank you. It just felt a little different than the rest of the document. It wasn't as defined in terms of the SMART goals and the timeline and the evidence. So you have my comments, but I just had questions on, it didn't feel at the same level as the rest of the document.
Okay. Do you want to do the SparkNotes highlight of where the biggest concerns were with that?
Yeah.
What?
I was agreeing with you because I see evidence. So
Well, the first one, it doesn't really, this is supposed to spell out the work from now until January. So it just says spring 2023, assess communication efficiency and effectiveness of the family survey, revise and plan improvements based on the feedback from the survey. But what is the rest of the work until January?
To implement the improvements. So spring would be before school gets out, revise and plan would be for the fall, and then from fall to January would be depending on what the feedback is and what improvements need to be made, making them.
So that-
we understood the end of the timeline to be the end of the we weren't changing.
No, I know that, but if you look back at the original
Yeah.
document, we really specified spring, fall, winter. We specified what was coming to school committee meetings. Because when we get to January and we do Dr. Thompson's 2-year evaluation, it'll be this document, and we should all just be very clear, when were things supposed to come to us? Otherwise, we're all going to assess differently.
I think if there's not revision and improvements by January, that's That's the deliverable. The survey needs to be right. The survey needs to go out. The survey needs to be implemented. The results need to be. I need a word. The results need to be reviewed, but that's not the right word. And then improvements created and put out by January. Like, I guess that's how I understand that.
Yeah, and if that's in writing, I'm cool with it. It's just not currently there.
Okay. So then what would your suggestion be, like, specific that we could add to that to make it that? Simply that, you know, a family survey done by the end of June 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I see Dave taking some notes and typing as we're
Nope,
talking.
that's me.
So, or Joan, sorry. I couldn't tell whose cursor. Yeah, so adding in those details, and then just what is the expectation of, you know, how are we finding out about it? Is it just in the weekly update, or is it a presentation that we should be expecting at school committee, and then put it on the long-term agenda?
She's adding that too. Committee report synopsis.
You in the same document I'm in?
I don't see you adding that.
I'm in the goals adjustment document. I'm in the SMART goal. I'm in the Spark version.
So am I. I'm in a document with Dave and David.
Yeah,
I
I
am
would
not
be
in a
able to-
document with Joan and Kate. And I do not see edits happening.
Goals
It's the
adjustment
same one you
to
were just
23-24.
Yes, that's what I'm in also.
She put,
Yeah, they both
school
said
committee
that.
will
One-
receive a report
One has
providing.
a Word document
Yeah.
at the end, the other one
And
does
one's
not.
the bottom, that one.
What is that one?
Like that one.
Why?
That's where the party is.
Okay.
changes
I
the-
see where you
Wait,
are now.
no, hang on a second. Why do we have two separate links?
To make it confusing.
Come on, God, come
I
on.
don't know why they're both in there. Let's
Okay.
change this one to final in front. Everybody okay with that?
The one that Joan's currently typing on?
Yep.
Yes, please do that. Okay, so I'm gonna close out of the other one.
So Brian, what am I supposed to be in? I'm just gonna keep typing. Y'all will come to my party. January synopsis of the survey results.
That looks good to me, Joan.
Okay. So what I wrote, just so that this is all in public, by January 2024, the school committee will receive a report providing the community with a synopsis of the survey results or the recommendations for improvements and an implementation plan for improvements. I'm fixing my grammar now.
Great.
Okay. What about for the next one?
Yep, so, sorry, I'm just trying to see what my comments were. So just the first part where it says, will be to complete the last year's strategic planning this spring. I was just confused about where that was falling. Was that referencing the goal that you just worked on, Joan, or is this taking us into the next goal? I wasn't quite clear.
Where are you? Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
We'll complete the last year of strategic planning this spring. That was from wasn't that from our, I think that was a mistype from our big goals, from our, yeah.
Okay. So then the next area, I was just identifying like where this fit on that broader document, because it was a little confusing to match up, but that's just a comment of where it goes. This is where I had questions on evidence. So with your strategic planning, your updated strategic planning documents, like just to be clear, listing what evidence are we expecting Dave to share with us in January to be evaluated on?
Right. But I think some of that is actually going to come out of the strategic planning process.
Okay.
We need to have goals and milestones in the strategic planning process that's then being reported out.
So we can make that more specific by saying share strategic plan, because the goals following that are updated strategic plan documents are shared with the community in fall of 2023, in summer 2023. Share strategic plan with committee.
And then just an overarching question, with the strategic planning, one thing that we have not been able to utilize this year is the dashboard. So it has impacted our ability to track and report out on progress and metrics. So how are we resolving that?
We need to find measurable ways in the strategic plan when we do this round of planning.
Right, but how, like, what is the actual tool that we're gonna be using?
The tool is going to be us sharing. There is no, right, so we basically made the decision to not use the dashboard because we were moving to Parent Square.
How are those two connected?
Because of technology costs, and we
Oh.
couldn't afford both. Parent Square is much more expensive than what we're using.
And much more useful.
And when you, right, and when you look at the, there's not many people that were looking at the dashboard.
Well, that's big, well, there's a lot of reasons for that, but,
It was not getting hits from the website.
Well, Parent Square has so much more value.
I agree.
I'm not
So, but are
refuting,
you're
no,
asking
Parent Square is very vital, I don't wanna get rid of it,
measurements,
but
yeah.
I do think that we need some metric system.
But you build that, if you build that into the strategic plan, that these are your measurables. So we basically did, this is a long conversation, but we basically developed a strategic plan using a different method without actionable, measurable goals in
Right.
it. Then we went to a dashboard and then tried to
Yeah, make them speak, and they didn't
fit
speak,
that,
I know.
which never really fit that well.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna go into a new process. We've gone into a third process basically at this point in time, so we need to get to a point.
So is
where
it
we-
using more the templates that we got from Mass Insight?
Yes.
And they're going to modify, we've raised the goals section
Yeah.
as a need of improvement. So
Okay.
we're going to modify the templates for us.
Okay, so could we incorporate that we are modifying, collaborating with Mass Insight so that we can utilize the templates for, metric assessment?
Well, yes, but here's the problem. I haven't had that conversation yet.
With who?
Right, so she's had one conversation. I haven't seen what they came back.
Well, then could we put that a goal and something that you'll be bringing back to us is what type of monitoring system we're gonna be using?
Yeah, it's going to be people reporting out on what they've done. There's not going to be a graphic on a webpage. So there will be graphs or things that we'll present in a PowerPoint. So that's how, and those will possibly go on a website, but there's not going to be a dashboard.
So then the evidence under the goal for strategic planning sessions for the final year in late spring 2023 is, one of the evidence pieces is share the strategic plan, including a system for monitoring progress with the committee in summer 2023.
That's perfect, thank you. Okay, so then the updated documents with the community, how is that being shared with the community? Is that a forum, is that Parent Square?
Well, when I wrote that, I was thinking what was put down on the bullet above it.
I think I'm okay with that not being spelled out. It needs to be shared by the community,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
shared
we
to the
can-
community, and I think to some extent that's going to be impacted by our school committee goals discussion around
Sure.
community engagement.
Okay.
So I'm okay with that being
Yeah,
less.
maybe it just says updated strategic plan, share with, get rid of the word documents.
No, I like documents.
Okay.
I like written things.
Okay.
It's just, it's seriously, like, it's just helpful in terms of tracking and evidence and having people go back to things.
Okay.
Yep.
So having you say, like, that you're going to do a Facebook Live, I don't think has the same staying power as having something documented and out to the community.
Yep.
Yep.
Unless anyone else disagrees.
No, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you scroll down to the next page, under like data-informed decision-making, under the evidence, just a question for clarification. So it did say before, regular reports to the school committee from Dr. Thompson, the admin team, based on data trends from the data teams. But this is changing now, the proposal to change it to school improvement plan updates. Aren't those two different things?
No, what changed was how we were going to do data this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we originally voted these in, we were talking about doing a district-wide data model.
Okay.
And through the data-wise training that the administrative team went through in August of last year, it was determined it would be a better start to go building with a building-based team first. So that's the change. So when you look at I just copied out of out of the goals document. You see old handbook, those are all data pieces that the data teams have done in the buildings.
Okay.
Okay? And so that's the evidence from the staff meetings. And then in the school improvement plans, there's also a data team, there's also data goals in there as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are the areas where I just wanted more information, so what we just worked on is sufficient.
Yeah, I've been updating it in that.
Great.
In that document.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
I'm gonna just add that there was a decision made to move, an intentional decision to move from district to school-based. Does that capture?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's important to document that. Thanks, Joe.
Anything else?
Nope.
The only recommendation I would make, and I know that this is a year away, is that the next time we do this, I think sometimes when you adjust goals mid-cycle, and I know that that's part of it, that we shouldn't be writing goals that make that. Because in this rubric and in the teacher rubric and in all of the rubrics that are used in schools, you know, if you have your professional status, they're written as 2-year plans. And I think that we just need to get better at that, because I think if we do this once and we do it right, we don't have to come back in the middle. I understand the check-in. The check-in is the feedback and that. But, you know, if it's, oh, well, we don't know what the feedback is, then I think we need to reconsider the goal. And that's just a general comment. You know, I know that we won't be dealing with that again for another year. But anything else before we'll entertain a motion?
Oh, just in all fairness, though, David, to that last comment, the majority of the goals that we set in year one, we did not have to redo for year two.
Correct.
It was just a couple areas.
But the way that they're generally written,
Yeah.
in how we use it, is that it's locked in for 2 years, and that there's an update,
Mhm.
and that update is, you know, a one-page narrative, and we
Right.
check in on evidence.
Got it.
So I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's, with
Yeah,
everything that
and-
goes on, it's hard to check.
And I'll just say that this
update
really,
this.
we're kind of in the Wild West right now with a lot of this stuff, so there was some conscious and pieces left out that we would set the second half of goals, depending on the first half.
Okay.
And then, you know, for the data work to change, so 5 months into the plan, so.
We keep it broad, you know.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the goals as edited in our packet.
Second.
So that was a motion by Joan, seconded by Teresa. Any
seconded by
other
Kate.
discussion?
I mean,
Seconded by Kate.
yeah, I mean, I'm in
Sorry.
favor, but Kate seconded.
Kate.
Just last thing for discussion, after we vote on this, if somebody, I don't know who it is, needs to take that document and now embed it into the full document.
I'm gonna ask you to do that.
I might do it.
You could probably also ask Jamie for help.
I might ask
other-
Jamie to do it.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Nope.
No. If there are none, I will now entertain a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Lovely. That passes 4-0. Thank you for getting through the old business. Mr. Hildshow, now we will move into policy. Kate.
Okay, great. It'll be a quick one. We are meeting on the 11th next. We, just an update on KCD. So, we post the workshop on the 25th. We talked about drafting a sort of template, in the policy subcommittee that would then be, edited or revised once we get input from principals based on conversation that Dave's having with with them around the PTO relationship, because we understand how crucial and key that relationship is in terms of the principal being clear about what their buildings need. And so this template, again, just to remind everybody, is for PTOs and principals to sort of lay out the lay of the land in terms of their fundraising goals and milestones of the year. And then we're going to create, that would come in, so we have an overview into what's going on in the different schools, and we would then vote to approve it, and then have a couple of checkpoints mid-year, and then at the end of the year to just be abreast of any changes or additional funding. And so we'll get back to the school committee with that after the May 11th, and then input. So probably we'll bring something back in the second June meeting, I'm guessing. Other than that, we're going to talk about the long-term agenda too, just to sync up with when Teresa was mentioning that. I'll make sure we talk about that. I'm just going to add it as an addendum so that we can also sync up with May 17th, because you're going to bring the budget LTA in to discuss. So I figured in terms of alignment, that might be just to line up with that timing. We can offer something at that time as well. In terms of the MASC policy updates, Dr. Taylor is doing a red line version of where we're at with that. We already are ahead on a lot of those. So she's going to, as she has time to over the next couple of weeks, get us a version to see where that sort of where we, I'm sorry, as it gets this late, I start to get less articulate, and I do apologize to you all and to the viewing public. So I think at the end of this month, she'll have like a general like draft of here's where we stand, here's what needs addressed, and then for us to look at, and then hopefully so that we can button up all of that by end of school year. And that goes along with a lot of the handbook work too. So I think that again aligns with those discussions as people are looking at their handbooks and things like that, and you're in those conversations with people. So we'll be talking about that, and you guys will see that soon. And that's really all of the highlights. We're gonna, next meeting, we're gonna look at the memorial policy as well, just to make sure that it makes sense for some of the things that people have wanted to do recently. And that's it. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, thanks. I'll keep it short.
No, thank you for your work. So next under policy, Teresa, to legislative advocacy.
Yeah, so ongoing, as you know, I've been meeting with Jody Smith, and we've been working on a series of letters. I always set standards way too high for myself, and usually I achieve them. This time I did not. So there were not 2 letters in your packet tonight. There was just one on the Thrive Act, and we will get the one around the behavioral and 37H and 3/4 on May 17th. So there's a draft in the packet that's been approved by Jody. I don't know where Dr. Wyeth just snuck off to, because he was just editing it during this meeting. But you can see on the side his comments. So I'm just going to read to you what Ms. Smith and I worked on, and then you can see Alex's suggestions on the side, which I'm happy to incorporate if everybody's good with them. So again, one of these letters would go to Senator Rush, and then another one would go to Representative Rogers. So dear Senator Rush, we are writing this letter, unified as the Norwood Public Schools School Committee and the Norwood Teachers Association, to ask for your support for our students. Specifically, we are writing to ask you to support a major education bill, the Thrive Act. The Thrive Act was filed in both the House, HD 3162, and Senate, SD 2067, on January 20th, 2023. The bill would transform education in the Commonwealth, empowering communities with the tools and resources that students and schools need to thrive, and dramatically reducing the harm caused by the high-stakes punitive use of standardized tests, such as denying diplomas. The bill has a few goals that we support and urge you to advocate for too. Specifically, there are 2 major aspects we ask you to consider. Number 1, authentic learning, real school improvement. Currently, there are practices in place by the state that force districts to have a narrow approach to learning by teaching to test-driven curriculums. There are practices in place by the state that have a limited perspective on what accountability means and implement harsh measures of punishments, rather than truly helping the students and the districts that need support. The Thrive Act would require whole child comprehensive school improvement plans using proven strategies to address root causes. Whole child approaches promote academic growth, real-world skill building, and healthy development of students. School improvement plans would be based on proven approaches and would be trauma-informed and anti-racist best practices. Support would be provided for wraparound services for social, emotional, and physical health. Number 2, fair and effective assessment. Massachusetts is only one of 8 states currently using a standardized test as a graduation requirement. This is not best practice and is not what is recommended by the Federal Department of Education. Further, the reliance on MCAS as a graduation requirement is causing harm to many students. It is well documented that students are experiencing unprecedented stress, anxiety, and depression, and reporting high rates of being overwhelmed. DESE has acknowledged that students are struggling, and they stated they were going to focus on supporting the behavioral and mental health needs of students, and yet their actions were louder than their words when they increased the MCAS score requirement for graduation. It is evident that DESE does not understand the full needs of today's students. We support accountability measures, and we acknowledge that MCAS is an important data point in assessment, but MCAS is not a comprehensive assessment tool. It does not accurately assess a child's ability to learn or to demonstrate real-world skills. We strongly believe that MCAS needs to be decoupled from graduation requirements. We are confident that Norwood Public Schools District has other efficient and effective ways to prove mastery of key competencies. Schools need to do more and have more support around deeper learning versus spending time on MCAS prep. Time spent on MCAS prep negatively impacts valuable learning that can and should be happening in our schools. Assessment should not be one size fits all, as our students are individuals who learn differently and should be assessed in different ways. The Thrive Act would change graduation requirements to be based on coursework, a new vision, and a new array of assessments that truly capture student learning and growth. Under the Thrive Act, the Commission would identify proven, fair, effective, and varied assessments, such as work samples, projects, portfolios, and performance assessments. Courses would still be required to meet state standards and curriculum frameworks, but student learning would be assessed based on their growth and achievements in a wide range of skills. A deeper learning initiative needs to take top priority and give teachers more permission, latitude, and training to be creative in how they engage students in meaningful learning. As our society becomes more diverse, this must be a priority, or we will continue to disenfranchise far too many of our students who all have something important to offer. If you have any questions or would like more information about how our school district is currently impacted, we would be happy to find a time to meet and discuss. Thank you in advance for your support and advocacy. And then, as I said, not too long ago, Dr. Wyeth added some additional helpful feedback, which is on the side, and I am comfortable adding it all in if everybody else is as well.
My apologies, I saw your email after I did this.
That's okay. You were very helpful with your initial feedback, and some of your language is already in there from your initial round of feedback.
I see it, yeah.
So thank you.
I think it looks good.
Would everybody like me to add in the few comments? I think Alec just enhances. It doesn't change the message.
No.
It enhances with some
Mhm.
details, so I can add that in.
Sounds good.
I'm going to Day on the Hill tomorrow. Do you want me to hand it to him?
What'd you say,
He's
Dr.
the
Thompson?
enhancer.
The enhancer. So if there's a motion, if we approve it, then Jody would take it to her board next Thursday.
Oh, right.
Right. Joan moves to approve. I will second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
No
All right.
opposed, so that is 4-0.
I will do those couple of edits. I'll get it to you, Jody, for your board, and I'll get it to Priscilla so that hopefully if the board approves it as well, we can send it off next week.
Thank you. The other mistake we made is we didn't talk about our own goals, but we're gonna bump that because it's 9:55 and we gotta get through the rest. So that was not done purposefully. That was a mistake on my end, but I think probably for the best, if the committee will have it.
I agree. It's a long discussion.
Yeah, and Anne Marie can be here.
And it
Yes.
gives us time next week in both of our subcommittee meetings to think more about policy and budget
Mhm.
and bring suggestions back.
Perfect. Okay, into new business. Back to you, Ms. Sheridan. Transportation registration and timeline for 2010.
Okay, so in your packet, you had some forms for the transportation. So the fees remain the same as last year. It's on the chart here that you have. That there is a $25 admin fee that is waived if you sign up by the June 5th. The timeline is beginning on May 22nd, and it's going to run through June 30th. With a wait list only after June 30th. There is no guarantee of a seat on the bus after June 30th. Students that are in grades 1 through 6, more than 2 miles away from their assigned school, there's no charge for transportation for those students. And also kindergarten is no charge for transportation for kindergarten students. The free and reduced application is online for those who want to try to fill up for that free and reduced. And the passes will be delivered the week of August 29th, if registered by the June 30th. Be the same passes the way we did them last year, which would be similar to like these things here. The passes will be delivered to the schools to hand out to the students. And then payment remains the same. It's check, money, or a credit card. Credit card can be done in-house, or you can go on Unipay and pay on Unipay. So if anybody has any questions on that. And all these forms are online, on the web.
Okay, and again, this was just informative, this was not needing a vote?
Right.
And second question, I assume those will be parent squared or posted to the website?
The parent
Yes.
square.
It'll be posted on the website, and there'll be a reminder with a link to go and
For parents.
sign up for the
Okay.
bus.
Right.
Lovely. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
No, looks great, thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Sheridan. Assistant Transportation Director Coordinator position. So this will require a vote.
This one does require a vote, but, Marie Shaughnessy, she is the transportation dispatcher, and she is retiring effective May 30th. I'd like to thank her for her service. I'll miss her. I know I will miss her. She did a great job. So this is not a new, it's not an additional position. It is replacing that dispatcher position. We feel that we'd like that position to move to an Assistant Transportation Director Coordinator position, to be, to assist with Al, to be able to take over when Al is not there, even though I have to say that Marie mostly does that anyways. But this is a position that we would like to hire as the Assistant Director Coordinator position, to see if we can get some candidates that have some good experience to assist with Al, and because especially given the fact that that transportation department is just extremely busy. So what needs the vote, I guess, is the job description.
Okay. So,
So I know you said it, but I'm just gonna say it again, this is not an additional FTE. We just
No.
have a role opening up and reassess the structure of the department and realize that it's a better opportunity to take that FTE and turn it into an Assistant Transportation Director Coordinator position. But it is a new job in this district, so we do need to approve
The job
description.
Right.
lovely.
It's budget neutral, correct?
Yes, we've already allocated the amount of money in the budget for this position. Mhm.
Excellent. Any other
Yes, it is budget neutral.
Thank you.
Any other questions,
I should have
comments,
just said the
concerns?
short answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's late, it's late.
Too much detail.
So I'll make a motion to approve the job description for the Assistant Transportation Director Coordinator position.
Okay, Teresa makes a motion. Joan, is that a second
It
from
is
you?
a second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion on the vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. I hear 4 yeas, 0 nays. That will pass 4-0. Ms. Sheridan, thank you. As always, now it is in time for consent agenda. Dr. Thompson with the donation.
With a donation from Bay State Textiles for a grand total of $511.
Lovely.
So moved.
So, motion to approve. David makes the motion to approve. Joan seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. All of those in favor?
Aye.
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 4-0, that motion will pass. Lovely. We will continue with consent agenda. We will start with Teresa.
Yeah, just the Masons at Orion Lodge announced the 25 nominees for Teacher of the Year. The ceremony is next Friday, the 12th, but I just wanted to read the names of the Norwood Public Schools teachers who have been nominated and congratulate them. So from the Balch, we have Janice Garrity, Diana Martucci, Ellen Norton, Sandy Coulter, and Patricia Wheeler. From the Callahan, we have Sarah Ryan. From the Cleveland, we have Jane Catalano. From the Coakley, we have Joshua Bell, Nicole Conaway, Angeline Kelly, Diane Lockwood, and Eileen Siegel. From the high school, we have Jennifer Orlinsky. From the Oldham, we have Gina Stevens and Sarah Griffin. From the Prescott, we have Christopher Obara, Erica Renaud, and Carol Thornton. And then from the Willett, we have Katie Lavrinos and Colleen Reynolds. So just wanted to congratulate all those teachers on being nominated. And I believe Orient Lodge is starting to announce the 5 finalists on this Friday. So they announce a finalist a day, and then they have their ceremony on the 12th.
That's cool.
Thank you. Kate.
I don't have anything.
Joan.
I have no addenda this evening.
My only one is a reminder, it has already been posted, but the Elementary Study Committee will be meeting Tuesday, May 16th at 4 p.m. That is virtual. It is a remote subcommittee meeting. It is open to the public. If you would like to attend, please contact the superintendent's office at 781-762-6804 by noon on the business day prior to the meeting to receive the link. And hopefully, if all goes well, we will have some updates around town meeting and can really get into some of those next steps. Other than that, I just want to say thank you. It was a long meeting, but I think keeping it to 3 hours, we did a nice job. So thank you to the rest of the committee. Now we do, and I'm going to get this right. Let me take a look at my notes. We are going to go into executive session. This will need to be a roll call vote. We will only return to general session for adjournment. I don't know if I got that correct or not, but to go into executive session, Teresa. Make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kate. Teresa.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Joan.
Yes.
And David is yes as well. So that is 4-0. We will declare the business meeting over at 10:02 p.m. Thank you and have a wonderful night.